welcome everybody. It is the NFL season preview show that we have here live from 2 continents, not 1 but 2, because 3 has become 4 for this specific show. So before we introduce our brilliant guest, Will, Peter, how are we doing?
Yeah, man, we're
I'm
doing
excited. I'm good, excited for the NFL season to finally get started. All the off-season moves, everything. The season is here, and I'm just excited. I just can't wait for the season to get started.
I think
Wow.
there's been like a lot of movement in this off season. There's been like a bunch of new status quos with a lot of teams. So I think everyone just wants to see how these teams are going to come out. So yeah, no, it's long overdue. You know, it feels like a long period, and everyone's just waiting to see this product on the field. So yeah, man, it's going to be great.
And without further ado, Finn, how are we? How are we all the way over in the US? So he is 5 hours behind us. So a little bit more about Finn. He is a fan of the Detroit Lions, if you cannot already tell. Him being in Lions gear with the Lions background. Ran the Bye-Week podcast over in America. Also did journalism for Sideline Report, a news website specialising in Lions content and film review. And for all those that knew him from Madden side, he also hosted a Madden podcast for a couple of years. But how are we doing?
Hey, man. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on. And I'll try my best. Every time I talk with guys from the UK, my Harry Potter accent starts creeping out. So I'm going to try my best to stay in my lane and stay with my Southern accent. But Gryffindor, you know, pop out every once in a while.
Well,
sure you don't want
the
to.
thing,
You sure you don't want to be in Slytherin?
Nah. That's the wifey. She is Snake. Not me. Very brave heart and pure of soul.
so
Harry Potter.
yeah, there's a good amount of Harry Potter fandom from both sides of the pond, most definitely. So normally our first section of our show is the NFL news. We covered the vast majority of it last week, so there's only one real piece of news that for us to really cover, and that was Kelsey going to the Cowboys to play left tackle.
Jason Peters.
That was Jason
Peters.
Peters.
That was Jason Peters.
Yeah, my brain has.
I was like, did Jerry Jones pull something? Are we talking about the same Kelsey?
Justin Peters. I even read it right.
Yeah,
that was a big booby to start the show. But anyway, Justin Peters. So, Will, your thoughts on that one, because that is your guy effectively in the past, having gone across.
Absolutely. A lot of people would obviously think heartbreak. You know, he is the definition of a Philadelphia Eagle. He's an all-time great. But I think we moved on from him for a reason. You know, I think for Dallas, he's going to be serviceable. But I think realistically, I mean, this is me just being a bit.
They've got some real problems, haven't they?
Yeah, they do have some problems, and I think that offensive lines, age-wise, is one of the more older groups in the league. And obviously, with if you look at offensively, Dak needs help. You know, he has CeeDee Lamb there, but they moved away from Amari. You know, Gallup is coming back off injury, so he's going to need to get his feet underneath him at the same time. So for me, I kind of view that as them bringing in a vet that they know can play. Not sustained play, because let's be honest, towards the end of his career, Peters was pretty much nicked every game. He had something wrong with him every game. You know what I mean? So I think what they're really bring him in for is some insider information on top of his consistent play. Because make no mistake, as soon as they get him in that room, they're going to look at the biggest threat in that division for them, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. So they're going to get him on a seat with a flashlight, and they're going to say, look, just tell us what you know. But they will use him. You know, I'm heartbroken, but at the same time, I understand it's a business. You know, it's a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? I believe so.
Yeah,
that's my understanding. It is.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal. And
with the Eagles, when Sirianni got there.
Yeah, so I actually think, you know, having been on the Eagles Reddit, there's a lot of memes going around with how our defensive line is over the moon because they're all calling him like past his sell by date. You know, Josh Sweat, defensive end for us, is happy because he's been beating this guy in the past few years in camp, and he's going to get a chance to get some real reps in games. So it's not going to be easy for him, but I don't blame Dallas for doing it. I'm passive about this. It is what it is. It's not ideal. I wish him all the best. Yeah.
So, Finn, your thoughts on whether this actually really improves the Cowboys' offensive line? Because obviously they had a problem because the starting guy goes out. Is it really going to make that much of a difference actually for them playing wise? Because he's a 40-year-old guy, so it's not going to be easy for him.
Yeah, playing wise, I don't think you're going to expect any kind of similarity to who he was replacing. At 40 years old, I mean, even Whitworth was showing signs of fade right now. Obviously, there's going to be that kind of veteranship where he's going to be able to win reps just because of his experience in the league. And with a team like the Cowboys, where you have so much talent all over the field, that's really all you need, right? I don't need him to come in and be the world beater left tackle that he was 15 years ago or 10 years ago, but just be who you are and what you can do. I think the biggest thing, of course, the little one decides to yell right here. But I think the biggest thing is getting that rookie. I believe they drafted a young tackle or offensive lineman this year. And I think that is where you're going to see that improvement is while you have, Martin there at guard, Peters there at tackle, and even though while he's injured, just that veteran know-how is going to be able to get him up to speed quicker. So even if that play doesn't come from Peters, he's going to be able to help a rookie get up to speed a lot quicker than maybe he would have before. So that's what I'm expecting from them.
Any quick thoughts, Peter?
No hard feelings. The Eagles don't have any ill towards Jason Peters. Yes, he signed with the Cowboys. He's still going into your ring of honor because he's one of your best players in Eagles history. So him signing with the Cowboys shouldn't deviate from him being in the Eagles ring of honor. It's just that he's a free agent. He's 40. This is like last paycheck, still want to play a little bit. So there's no ill will towards it. He's just, like you guys have said, he's just there to do a job, to be serviceable. And where to Josh Sweat, experience matters. So he best know that, look, experience matters because I don't know about Josh Sweat, man. You ain't exactly like a top-hitting pass rusher. So if I'm Peters, I'm not losing sleep over Josh Sweat.
Hey, it's what I've been hearing on social media. Like, I'm talking side eye.
You
They've
can
all
talk
been
all
like,
you talk, but hey, I losing sleep because you're in the league. I'm not.
That's the wrong Sweat to be worried about. There's another guy in Washington who's a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. So I'm Jason Peters. I'm worried about a different kind of Sweat.
Exactly. I'm worried about the Chase Youngs. If I'm Jason, like now, Jason Peters don't have to face that monster that you guys have got in the middle that you drafted this year.
Yeah,
It is that rookie left guard from Dallas that's probably gonna have that matchup. So you don't want to be facing, and also the Giants, with Thibodeau, but we'll see.
We'll go on to a little bit more of the chat when we talk about the NFC East in detail. So without further ado, we're going to go through each of the divisions. We're going to go through our predictions. We're going to have lots of arguments, I hope, as to who we think is going to finish where and why. And we are going to troll Peter, obviously, with Tom Brady, because that's the trigger word for him. But enough about that for now, because that's towards the latter end. But, okay, first division on the list, the AFC West. Now, we have all put our predictions together, and I don't think we didn't really agree at all as to what was going to happen in this division. I'm going to first ask Peter to explain who he thinks is going to finish top, at second, third, fourth, and why.
Okay, so here's the thing. So the AFC West is now the toughest division in football based on all the moves this offseason on paper and how other teams have improved over the years. The Chargers, seems to have the complete roster in NFL. They have elite marquee players on offense. The offensive line has been returned to one of the best. And they have a good defense. They have one of the best defenses on paper. Because if you look at every level of their defense, they seem to have an all-pro caliber type player on each level. So they certainly have that. The Broncos traded for Russell Wilson. That's going to give them a boost, and their roster's looking good. The Raiders added Devontae Adams. They added Chandler Jones, Thomas Crosby. So they've got everything. The reason why, so I went with the Chiefs, the Chargers, Raiders, and the Broncos. The reason why I picked the Chiefs to win the division is because they've been there before. This ain't nothing new for them, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I look at Patrick Mahomes as somewhat of like an eraser. Like, he can make a play out of nowhere, and you never count him out. And when you look at the Chiefs, they made certain additions defensively to their draft I was really impressed with. Getting Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, rookies that will come in and they're going to have impressive rookie year. Having Trent McDuffie is essential because he's one of the best. I think he's going to be a very impressive slot cornerbacks. And the Chiefs typically draft very well. They tend to have good rookies that can come in and contribute. So they might not have splashed out in free agency. Yes, losing Tyreek Hill will hurt them, but I believe now their offense could become a bit unpredictable because now Patrick Mahomes is going to be spreading the ball around. You can't key in on one specific guy to take away from their offense. They have a couple of guys that they could go to, including Travis Kelce is still there, so now they can circulate the ball around Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And then also when I look in terms of coaching, they have the best coach in the division in Andy Reid. Andy Reid knows how to scheme an offense. He knows how to get after defenses. And as long as they have the Reid-Mahomes combo, I think they're going to be very hard to beat. I have to see it to believe it.
So,
and then
do you think Juju's going to eat this year?
Who?
Juju Smith.
Yeah, I can see getting 1,000 yards. I can see Vardas kind of getting 1,000 yards. I can see them spreading the ball around. So Kelce gets 1,000, Juju get 1,000. Think about it. Right now, the number one on the offense is going to be Kelce, right? So if you double Kelce, Juju and Valdes-Scantling will eat. They also have the rookie Sky Moore, and I project that he will have a slightly better rookie season than Rondale Moore. He's similar to Rondale Moore. He's very good in the slot. He can go deep, and he's been very impressive in preseason and also in the training camp. So he's one of those rookie weapons that will have a very impressive rookie year, I believe. And I think that is part of the weapons that's going to boost the Chiefs. And I still will go with the status quo that, yes, a lot of people might be looking at what's happening in the AFC West and might be counting them out. But I believe that they still control that division as long as they have the Reid-Mahomes combo and also the smart moves they made in the draft. Because I think in the draft, what they looked for players that can make plays in their defense. I've been impressed with George Karlaftis in the preseason and also Trent McDuffie's coverage. So they didn't go out to make splash plays after losing Tyreek Hill, but they made what you call roster builders. You bring in young guys that are hungry, that have potential, that can contribute. And that sometimes you don't just need to be flashy all the time. Sometimes you just need to build the roster with solid guys.
Right. So you have decided that bringing in Russell Wilson will make no difference to where they finish within their division. Explain this. What is this slander? Because I'm not going to give away the other two guys' picks, but what is this slander?
All right. The reason why I put what do you call it, Russell Wilson and the Broncos, unfortunately, is because Russell's coming to a new division. The Broncos will be improved. And here's my caveat. They are going to finish fourth in the division. That's my prediction. But they'll still have a winning record. It doesn't mean they have a losing record.
So you're saying that all four teams in this division is going to have a winning record?
Yes, it's very possible. It's very possible for all four teams to have a winning record. I can see the Broncos finishing 9-8, maybe 10-7, but I'm definitely going to say 9-8, which is a winning record. Might make the playoffs, might not make the playoffs. But my caveat is that Russell Wilson's coming to a new team, right? He's got offensive piece. The offense is going to be running through him.
Because they've got Cortland
Courtland
Sutton.
Sutton, yeah.
They've got Jerry Jeudy.
Yes.
Okay, they no longer have Noah Fant in the tight end position, but they've got running backs that are very good. So they've got the pieces.
I get that they've got the pieces. But
And their defense is so strong.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. As good as Russell Wilson is, right? Here's my little caveat, and this I love Russell Wilson. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. He's tormented my Cardinals for years, and this has nothing to do with it. Trust me, guys. What I'm saying is, but here's the difference, though. When Peyton Manning and Tom Brady went into their new teams, they were MVP, All-Pro, Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. Their pedigree was so much higher to the pedigree Russell Wilson is going to the Broncos with. Because if you think about it, by the time Tom got to the Bucs, he essentially was he was an offensive coordinator. By the time Peyton got to the Broncos, Peyton was an offensive coordinator playing quarterback.
That's not Russ's fault, though.
Let me finish.
Just say it.
Listen, Russ still needs to build the offense with Nathaniel Hackett. We just saw Tom Brady retire Bruce Arians to run the offense exclusively by him. Here's the thing, though. What I'm saying is, it's a new division. The Broncos are going to be very impressive, but I look at the Broncos roster. As good as Russell Wilson is, that connection on the Raiders, I think the Raiders will surprise people this year, and they probably will be a good team, because when I look back to last season, literally didn't have anybody, and Derek Carr did very well to get into the playoffs, but they made key acquisitions like Devontae Adams, and I give credence to that connection because we've seen it before with the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, like these college quarterbacks and their receivers in the pro level has this uncanny chemistry, and I believe that's what Derek Carr and Devontae Adams have. I believe they might have trained in the off season, which we don't know about. Even though he was playing in Green Bay, it wouldn't surprise me if over the years they've always met up to have throwing sessions between the two of them. Even though they play for opposing teams, it happens because they have that bond, that chemistry, and I think that's what I'm relying on. And I'm not saying that Russell Wilson is not. The Broncos have an impressive year, but I just don't believe that they'll have enough to win the division. They might make a wild card spot.
Okay, so to win those, particularly those divisional matchups. So
yeah,
I'm going to segue to one of the other guys, Finn. Where do you have the Broncos?
You know, I've got the Broncos in the top spot, but this was honestly a division where I don't hate any order of these four teams at all. If you think the Raiders are going to be good, then okay. If you think the Broncos, I think the entire division will be within 4 to 5 games of each other. So I'm particularly strongly built around that. I do agree where I think every team is capable of making the playoffs, and with a 3 wild card, setup we've got now, it's very possible they eat up all those spots.
Okay, is anybody going to put themselves out on a limb here? Put your hand up. Are all 4 teams making the playoffs? Is anybody going to put the limb and say no? All 4 teams are making it. I think they lose too many games in playing each other. That's my problem.
It's not even that. I think it's possible, but also when we think about it, look at the AFC. It's so stacked. The AFC is so stacked. Like the AFC is so stacked with elite great quarterbacks across teams.
So I don't see but one team making it from the South. Right, I don't see the Titans, Jags, or Texans, or like only one team is making it out of that division. I think when you look at the North, I think the Ravens
2 probably.
The Ravens 2 have a really good shot, but like you got to consider the Browns are without a quarterback for 11 weeks. The Steelers are starting Trubisky, so if one injury could change the whole dynamic of that one, and then again, same deal with Miami, right? Miami's probably with the Bills, and that's where most folks have them. But that depends on 2. So I wouldn't say I promise all 3 are going to make it, but I'd say it's a fairly realistic situation.
Yeah, but, I'm gonna chime in quickly here. So in my opinion, like just like Pete said, this whole AFC West is completely stacked all the way, so it's kind of like you could literally switch around I'd say with the exception of the Raiders, I don't see them perhaps taking it, but they could easily come in second. Like you could switch around any of these teams.
I've got a quick question for you though.
Yeah, go
Why
ahead.
Why you put the Chargers at the bottom though?
Here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I had to pick someone.
Too.
I had to pick someone. You know what I mean? It's like
you could have picked the Raiders.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying. The Raiders. Okay, if I go through them, look at that Raiders offense. Tell me.
Did you forget Herbert Sadaki?
Yeah, but is that not the best? Potentially
third best
on paper. Yeah, the best receiving core you've seen in a long time. Waller, Renfro, Adams. That's dangerous. Not to take into account who they have in their backfield. You know, they just got to play sound football. The connections are already there.
How highly do you rate Josh Jacobs, though?
I think he's a tremendous back. I think
that's
he's a traditional
back.
That's for everybody. I think he's a traditional back. But at the end of the day, if you've seen him run, you know he's more than capable of
You're not going to be able to play
games.
You're not going to be able to play one high against the Raiders. You are going to get eaten alive. You will have to play too high. You will have to put a double on that. And that just takes a man out of the box. So however good you think Josh Jacobs is, now take a man out of the box.
That's true. And then but here's the thing, though. Like, the Chargers, you put them at the bottom here. But look at the Chargers defense. They have an all-pro literally like on almost every... The back and the front
I had to put someone. I had to put someone at the bottom. This is a testimony of how strong this division is. Like I had to put someone at the bottom. I think that the only reason I slanted down with them is because they're learning they know who they are. Herbert's going to take that next step, and I think he will. But like I said,
and that's why I put them top.
Things around.
That's why I think Herbert makes that next step.
He will take that next step.
So to give one both Will and Finn put Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers as their order. My order was Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders. I think the top three all make the playoffs. I think the fourth team doesn't. That's how it is. It's so close. I think that it's very, very close, but it's going to be so good to watch these get all the divisional games between them this season are going to be incredible.
Well, I'd hate to be a Jim in this division.
And I'll know what I think the most important thing is when it comes to Russell, who is already coming from one of the world's, like the NFL's hardest divisions, right? We'll say this one's the hardest this year, but Russell's coming from the hardest last year. And what makes it so difficult is who? Chandler Jones, Aaron Donald, and Nick Bosa every week, or at least 6 times a year. That's what Russell's had to deal with. And the 2 biggest acquisitions to this division is not Russell Wilson. It's Chandler Jones to the Raiders. It's Khalil Mack to the Chargers. So I'm looking at what kind of team is best suited to deal with that kind of pressure. And granted, all of those quarterbacks are so talented. I really think Russell's experience and ability to play at a high level is going to be the difference. That's why I put the Broncos on top. Is Russell has been doing this. I know he had kind of an off year last year due to injury.
He's been running for his life for so long.
Russell is the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. For me, there's almost no chance that I can put Russell outside my top 5. So for me, we just saw what a team that has a fairly good roster can do when you add many would say a top 10 quarterback in Stafford. Now we're taking a team that's a little bit worse off, but we're giving them one of the best mobile quarterbacks of this generation. So I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. And there's no tape. I brought this up last week, just before we perhaps move on. I brought this up last week. They're going to come off to an early start because there's no tape on how you play a Russell Wilson with the kind of weapons he's got, with the kind of defense he's able to get. It's going to take 6. It's going to take 6 weeks. It's going to take 6 to 7 weeks for defenses to get the tape, and then you'll see teams start to perhaps find ways to counter them and slow. But
then they'll start to change it up by that point. Yeah,
but that's already too late. He's already going to start to build on that, and then you can work your way into the playoffs. You can build on it. So that's
I'll tell you one thing, though. I'll tell you one thing. Who sacked Russell Wilson the most in the NFL?
Probably Chandler.
And where's Chandler playing this year?
He's playing in Vegas, but has he ever had to chase Russell around in Denver in a mile-high altitude at 38 years old or however old Chandler Jones is? It's a little different now. He's going to get a little tired, bro. He's a
little gassed, man. I'm a little gassed.
I think it's
give me that oxygen mask.
Seattle's like literally at sea level. Okay, let's go 5,000 feet up and then see if anybody can run around with Russell. I don't think it happens.
Right, we must move on to the next division. So from this year's so we've gone from this year's most difficult division to last year's most difficult division. So now we are going to talk about the NFC West, and I'm going to lay a trap. Peter, who do you think is going to win this division?
You already know my answer. I mean, I'm a Cardinals fan, and I'm going to back my team. Yes, the Rams have probably the top roster in the division.
We need a Cardinals background for you because, you need to
It's
have
coming.
the
It's
full
coming.
shebang.
Don't worry, it's coming. The thing is, the Rams have probably the best roster in the division. They have an elite wide receiving core with the addition of Allen Robinson. They've got Aaron Donald, arguably the best defensive player in the league. They have Jalen Ramsey, and they've now added Bobby Wagner. So now they kind of have that trifecta of having that. Whenever I look at defenses, you have all pro at each level. So you have a key all pro at the defensive line, linebackers, the middle of your defense, and now you have a caliber on the back end. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, saying all of that, I picked my Cardinals to win because I think quietly, after the offseason that we've had, being in the news, being from the national media for all the wrong reasons, they claim that Kyler's contract situation, the clause in his contract, the whole hoopla, the story and everything. Our defense, the Cardinals defense is not quite up yet because the defense is just a mixture of really, really young guys. I think they're going to the youth movement, see what they have, and then maybe in the offseason bolster the defense. But the offense seems to be set. I just hope the offensive line remains relatively healthy, especially when we play the Rams and play divisional games, because that hurt us last year when we played divisional games that we had injuries on the offensive line. Seems to affect our play. And quietly, the reason why I picked my Cardinals to win, because I believe outside of DeAndre Hopkins, we've got options in our receiving core. Rondell Moore, I expect him to take another step, and whereby he's going to be used down the field. He's going to replace Christian Kirk in the slot. We've got Marquise Brown. So you've got two speed, elite deep threats that can go over the top. AJ Green is back for a second year. He has much more better understanding of the offense, and he now remembers the playbook. He promised he's going to turn around this time. He's not going to do anything.
He's actually going to finish. He's going to finish his routes properly, isn't he?
Exactly. He promised.
We're not doing AJ Green slander. Now. We're not doing AJ Green. I'll leave right now. We're not doing AJ Green slander. This man carried the Bengals on his
boy did not turn around
back.
last year.
We're not doing AJ Green slander.
I'm not. I know how brilliant of a player.
Watch your tone, Dilly.
It's just that one play last year had Peter so mad. It had him so tilted.
That would have won us the division when this was all said and done. We could have won the division if we had 10 around. That's it.
You lost to this
one game.
There's a stadium right here that you guys took a fat L to.
So I mean, every player has their boogie team. Kyler's boogie team seems to be the Lions. So I get that. But what I'm saying is AJ Green will turn around. We've got our tight end group's quite very impressive. I think we have one of the best tight end group in the division with Zach Ertz, Max Williams, Trey McBride, who's a very good rookie tight end. He can block, he can catch.
Well, we saw how powerful Zach Ertz was last year. Like when you guys managed to get him and how well he played on that side. But Hollywood Brown, do you think this is the place for him to make a real difference?
I think so, because here's the thing though. I think one of the things that I'm gonna give credit to is the Joe Burrow Ja'Marr Chase connection, right? I think NFL teams, we always say it's a copycat league, right? So the first time we really truly see a college quarterback and his wide receiver make such a connection in the NFL to that elite level, to my recollection, if there's been others I don't know, is Burrow and Chase. And I think it's now made other teams think, well, let's try and see if it will work. And I believe it will work because I think Kyler and Hollywood, they're literally best friends off the field. Even though they were playing for different teams the last couple of years in the NFL, they always talk, they always speak, they always train together in the offseason. So they already have like an inbuilt chemistry of which plays they are very deadly on, which plays he knows the timing of Hollywood Brown. He knows how to get the ball to him down the field and utilize his speed.
One thing he's got to do is stop dropping the ball.
Doesn't matter if the timing's good. Okay, but let me explain that, Dilly, because people might not understand this, but let me take back to NFL history a little bit. I remember there was a documentary about Jerry Rice and his career, and Jerry Rice said when he switched from Joe Montana to Steve Young, during their first practice sessions in the offseason, he couldn't catch any passes Steve Young was throwing to him. So he worked extra hard during training camp to learn how to catch the balls from a left-handed quarterback because the spiral is different, right? Now, the reason why Jerry Rice had to do that is because different quarterbacks, yes, they throw the ball, but they throw differently. I believe Kyler throws a better ball than Lamar. Lamar is a great quarterback, but Kyler is a better thrower of the football. And I believe the way Kyler Murray throws the football is much better.
It stays a little bit tighter, you think?
Exactly. It makes a difference to how receivers catch the ball. It might be a smallest of margins, but it does make a difference. And I think he's going to improve on his drops as well. Now, my biggest reason for why I believe my Cardinals will win this division, because I think we have a competitive roster, and if things bounce our way, we'll be able to win the division. Especially is now, I like the fact that D-Hop, I don't like the fact that he's suspended, but it could be a blessing in disguise because the first part of the season, we're going to have to learn how to play and spread the ball around without DeAndre
By the time
Hopkins.
the team's in rhythm, he's going to come in and just...
Exactly. So that second half slump, D-Hop will be back for that. And then that could change our fortunes whereby we are not falling off a cliff in the second half. And my biggest reason for why I think we'll win the division is that homework clause thing. I believe internally it's just gonna bend Kyler so deep that he's gonna come out this season motivated internally to prove a point that I'm really one of the elite quarterbacks in this game. And that homework clause was nothing. Like, I'm gonna prove that I'm truly, one of the elite top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think that's gonna be Kyler's internal motivation, because players have motivation. They might not speak about it publicly, but I believe that he's ticked off. And it's almost like a big comic call to, like, I watched one of these podcasts. I can't remember the name, but I think it was going viral. And the guy was saying that, so if Kyler did all of that without studying and now he has to study, watch out.
Well,
yeah, no, I think the way things are,
and I think the Rams might regress a little bit after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, that's a taken. Like, a lot of those players have achieved what they've achieved, and it's always harder to repeat because everyone knows what you're capable of. And whenever you play Super Bowl champions, it doesn't matter if you're the worst team in the league. Every player on that opposing roster is playing you 100% because they're looking at you as a measuring stick. So you're going to get the best game from every team you play. Teams will play a little bit harder. They'll push harder. So it's a harder road for them. But I really want to see what the 49ers are going to bring, because I think this division is really between 3 teams. Like I said, I don't mind. I'm rooting for all of them, really. But I really want to see what identity the 49ers are going to take. Are they going to eventually make that switch? If they're on a roll with Garoppolo, who is on the team, he is going to play.
You think Garoppolo is going to play?
Last
Trey Lance is going to be playing.
His job.
No. I'm saying he's going to play. I think he's going to play only because I'm just.
Why is he going to play?
I'm seeing too much undecisiveness.
It doesn't matter.
I'm seeing too much undecisiveness.
Listen, if Trey Lance is not injured, if he's taking it up, keep playing him. He has to learn. Don't play. Why are you gonna play Garoppolo for? You gave up all those sharp picks for this guy. Even if he's flopping it up, still play him. Let him learn.
Yeah, so it depends on how things go with that. I really want to see.
Bruce Arians once said, "You don't learn holding a clipboard." And I actually believe that when it comes to quarterbacks, they learn by playing.
They learn by playing. Yeah, true. So depending on that outcome, then I can see.
Well, it benefits my Cardinals. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. I'm not actually betting against your Cardinals. I have put them second, but that's only because I've got to show respect to the current champions. I got to give them their respect. But I think this division is up for grabs. It really just depends on who starts out hot. If the team that starts out hot, and I know the Cardinals have this tendency to fizzle out towards the end of the season. I think the team that starts off hot, I think this year is going to be able to maintain it.
No, I don't think so. Okay, I think I disagree a little bit. I think the NFC West historically is a division whereby it comes out to November and December. who's playing best heading to the playoffs normally ends up winning the division historically for the NFC West. And I think it follows that same trend. That's why I'm very curious to see if my Cardinals can, get over that late season hump and then actually play good in November and December. I think the biggest question for my Cardinals, especially in the division, is no matter how well we play in September and October, it wouldn't matter. I think a lot of people around the league will look at, are they still going to follow
Is this still going to happen effectively?
Or are they going to change that aspect? Because I think we could start out 7-0, 10-0. It doesn't matter. People are looking for, are they going to flop again?
Are you going to finish? That's the thing. Now, Finn, your thoughts on this? Well, division which is not as tight as it was last year, I think. But who do you think is going to win, and how do you think the 49ers are going to fare as well?
I don't think it's close at all. I think it's going to be very clearly the Rams. Will made a point earlier about who starts off hot, and having your best receiver suspended for 6 games is a little too much. I think as much as I'm a big Kyler Murray believer, I think the team that wins this division is the team that can run the football and throw the football, because the defenses in this division are tough. They're tough to deal, right? Aside because they're losing everything. All these teams are going to be tough to deal with at all times. And I think I don't have a lot of faith in the Niners team with Trey Lance. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, as great as a coach he is, this is not the time or division. Remember, we're talking about who's going to win this year. I think moving forward, if they can figure Trey Lance out, that'll be a team that might be able to dominate this division for a long time. But right now, I don't think that they're there. And I don't think that too many people are going to be scared of their their passing game, right? Obviously, you're always going to be terrified of George Kittle. But I think there's some things that these defenses aren't really going to be too terrified of. If you can stop the run, there's going to be plenty of ways to put pressure on a young quarterback who effectively has played one game. I mean, he played one game his senior year, the COVID year, then he sat this entire year. Not to mention, can he handle the mental pressure? Because the moment he starts struggling, the guy that has led this team to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship in the last 3 years is right on the bench. It does not take long to just go back to what they've been doing.
Yep.
So there's a lot of pressure. So he's got to be able to manage that. I don't know much about Trey Lance, so I don't want to speak to negatively of that. But that's a lot to handle when Aaron Donald is lining up across from you twice a year, right? And then when it comes to the Rams, I think the biggest key, and I'll poke on this later once we get to the award section. But the one thing Stafford never had in Detroit was a run game. And then he goes to this team that's got this young, shiny running back and all these. And the first thing that happens is Cam Akers tears his Achilles. And they go and win a ring with effectively no run game. This year, Cam Akers is back. He's healthy.
They should actually give him a little bit of a run game for the offense to roll.
Right. But there was so for me, if the Rams can find a way to get Cam Akers back into this offense to get quality touches and establish a run game, I don't think there's anybody in that division that can compete with them.
And they've added Allen Robinson.
Yeah, one of the best point of attack receivers in the NFL. I mean, he doesn't need to be open, and he will be open because you have got to watch out for the white boy. So, again, another situation, right, where I can run too high and I can double these receivers and give safety help. But then you have to worry about stopping Cam Akers. I think a big thing though for the Rams is the retirement of Andrew Whitworth, and can they kind of replicate his production at tackle? But other than that,
actually,
I think
I was quite impressive. Just a notebook. I mean, the couple of times he played when Whitworth couldn't go, he actually played one. I think he'll probably be a solid one for them. And it's good that they resigned him back to their team. I actually like him. Yeah, I get your points about the Rams. They're hard to beat, but I trust my team.
You have
home
to, right?
Home pick there. No
it.
bias whatsoever. But so my picks are the Rams, Cardinals, 49ers, and Seahawks coming up the rear. Okay, does anyone think the Seahawks will go 0-17, the first ever team? Because that has been
I think they'll win a game or two.
Nah,
they can win one. You know, they've got enough grit in them.
Does Geno Smith last this entire season, or Drew Luck come in at some point?
I think Drew will come in at some point.
Drew's coming in, man.
I think
at the moment, Geno's starting the season.
Nah,
yeah,
Drew's
but Pete said that Geno's not starting like just a slight edge. He's not starting like a huge margin.
Okay,
The
so
season's a-
he's
the
on a very
season-
short leash.
The
and he'll be
season's a
out
train
like
Yeah.
wreck
Christmas.
anyway, so they'll probably be rotating and seeing what they can do. Right now, they're not even looking at evaluating necessarily the guys they have at quarterback. What they're looking at is seeing who they can keep, who have they drafted that they can continue to keep heading forward to build a team. Like the QB situation there is you're just there to sort of fill
Okay.
the position.
One other thing, will one of their star receivers be traded?
For who?
Let's say, argument's sake, DK Metcalf, because that's the one that's been banded
known-
I
around
don't-
a little bit.
wow.
in
He's known as
socials.
Big Baby, right? He's known as Big Baby. So here's what's going to happen. When you start losing, well, he's going to be losing games. He's not going to be getting any yards in games. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to turn into the NBA, and he's going to be like, I can't keep playing in these conditions. So I don't know if they'll move him, or because he's recently signed like a huge deal. So I don't think necessarily they're going to move him because they want to keep him there for the next guy coming through. Because who wants to sign with this team? You have to think some teams sometimes want to attract free agents. Not just that, but for the new guy or the new drafted quarterback coming in, they need to make sure he has weapons there. So it could go either way, but I know DK, and he's not going to be happy with the numbers he pulls because we've seen him multiple times look at himself in the third person and view himself as one of the best receivers, not just in the NFL right now, as one of the best to ever play. So he kind of views himself as that kind of guy. So I don't think this season's going to go well for him. And he's not going to be happy about that.
All right, moving on to the NFC East. This is Will's division, but I'm not going to let him go first this time around. It's going to be our guy, Finn. Finn, what do you think of how the NFC East is going to go?
My picks are the Eagles as the division champions with the Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants. It's one of those things that we're all losers because we have to watch NFC East football. One of those situations. It's not a pretty sight.
No,
we
it
kinda
really
talked
isn't.
pregame.
It really isn't.
My pick here for Eagles is more of a confidence or a lack of confidence in Dak Prescott as it is a confidence in the Eagles. It's great defense. You got Fletcher Cox. You've got the young Jordan Davis from Georgia. Fantastic edge rushers that are just they just work well as a cohesive unit. On offense, they've made the effort they can to say, hey, Jalen Hurts, this is your opportunity. We've given you everything you should have, right? We've got maybe a consensus top 5 to 6 tight end in Dallas. A very underrated talent there. You've got plenty of receivers on this roster. We've cut the dead weight. We traded Jalen Reagor out to Minnesota. You're not going to worry about him anymore.
Yes.
Miles Sanders, while he's not your fantasy running back, that team is a team that can run the football. And if that offensive line is healthy, they should be fine. No, I know they had an injury to Dillard, right? Did that go down? But nonetheless, really, it's a lack of confidence in Dallas. I think that Dallas's time to prove it has come and gone. CD is a fantastic talent, but they've kind of botched running a linebacker picks over the years. Dak has not really done anything to elevate that team, in my opinion. So, and then we're not even two teams, right? But I will say this: I wouldn't be surprised if Carson Wentz wins this division. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if for some way they find a way to get Terry McLaurin the football. That defense just overpowers everybody else to wins. But other than that, I think it's kind of a crapshoot division. But I'll take
I have been burned by Commander Carson too many times last season to care.
He owns this division, though, man. He owns
the
these
roller
guys.
coaster. The roller coaster ride that the Commanders fans are going to have this season, they are going to need open heart surgery by the end of it.
But if all the stars align and those edge rushers stay healthy.
But that's the thing. They were predominantly healthy a lot of last season, and they performed very badly. Now, they've got to really pick it up, really, because that defense was supposed to be incredible last year, and it wasn't. And despite the whole QB situation not being great, it's it's now the QB situation is average to above average, but it's not good with spikes of Pat Mahomes incredible and lows of Jared Goff. Yes, I used the I put the Eagles to win because I think they're going to run the ball so much, and I think Jalen Hurts, despite his inaccuracy, he will still manage to win. He'll will them to win games through his legs, and I think that's what's going to be the key difference. The Cowboys will do what the Cowboys do, and they will end up 9-8 or something like that because they will. They average in the NFL what previous to the 17-game season was an 8-8. That is literally what they were. They were literally mid. So I don't think they're going to do a hell of a lot better than that. But I do have. So my ratings were Eagles, Cowboys, and I had the Giants because. So I have the Giants in third because for some reason I think Saquon's going to actually have a good year for once. He's not going to get injured. He's going to have a good year, and
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. I think I'm just a Saquon stan, and I think I've just got my.
Yeah.
We got we have two running backs that were elite in 18-19 and then were hurt for 2021. And one of them, if he comes back today healthy, everybody's like, he's the best. That's Christian McCaffrey. And the other one is Saquon Barkley. For some reason, everybody seems to think he's forgotten how to play running back. So healthy Saquon is a top 5 running back in the league.
Thunder thighs himself.
Yeah,
because he has the thighs literally the size of my torso. It's I think he's going to make a difference somehow. But Will, Peter, what are your thoughts on how this division are going to go?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna keep it fairly straightforward. I think if you look at this whole division, I'm actually gonna start with the Giants, as they're kind of like, for me, I view them as like a sneaky team, you know, with Brian Daboll as your head coach. And if you look at their draft class this year, something has changed in that organization in terms of how they're viewing players and how they're going to move forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few upsets in this division, not against my Eagles though, but I can definitely see them causing some panic to a few teams. If we move up a little bit, we've obviously got the Commanders. I think in terms of like coaching, they're arguably, in my opinion, the best team in this division. This isn't really a slant on my Eagles. This is more me sort of looking at Ron Rivera and understanding what he can bring to a team, regardless of all the noise.
And a Mike McCarthy as well.
Yeah, and a shot at Mike McCarthy as well. But this is more me looking at Ron and seeing what he can do on the defensive side of the ball. Say what you want, but whenever you play the Commanders, it's a tough game. You're gonna walk away in ice packs. Like, they're gonna make you know you fought them. And I know a lot of our division gets trashed a lot as being like bottom tier, etc. But it is a tough division if you play inside it. It's a painful division. You know, it's a scrap, and all the teams there, if you can make it out of there, you know, it speaks a lot for like your fortitude. With Dallas, they've squandered, I'm going to go on a rant here, like they've squandered all of the opportunities they've had for the past 5 years, because this division has been wide open, because my Eagles have allowed them to
minus the Dak was injured.
Yeah, but they've squandered their years here, and that window, in my opinion, has come to a close. If we look at what's happening on their team right now, you know, they got rid of Amari Cooper and they fought CeeDee Lamb's the guy up front. Now he's going to be the hero, but you have to understand, as a rookie receiver, when you come into the league, you're more often than not, especially when you have a guy like Amari on the opposite side, you're going to be going up against the number 2 corners, the safeties. Now you're going to be getting the lion's share of the one-on-one coverage. If you get double teamed, can you get out? CD's great, but teams are going to focus on taking him away. And then you've got a Michael Gallup coming off injury. He needs to get his feet underneath him. And not to mention Zeke Elliott hasn't necessarily been himself. I mean, everyone in Dallas right now, I think, is saying Pollard needs to be the guy heading forward. But we all know within that organization, Jerry's not going to let that fly. You know, they're going to play Zeke, and once his
So he
legs are
loves his
gone,
guys, yeah.
exactly. So it's just one of those things, that they've shored up some pieces, but I don't think it's going to be enough because my Eagles have, like, Howie Roseman has done a lot. Like, if you look at his draft class, getting the Kobe Dean in the later rounds, this guy was a monster in Georgia. He ran that team. And I actually think he was the best defensive player at Georgia. If he was 6'2", 6'3", I think, forget the first linebacker gone, he's way up there, but it's a height issue. But we've all seen that, that's fine. We're going to see how he plays. Jordan Davis down the middle, we have Sweat, we have outside rushers, inside rushers. Like, it's gonna be hard for people to try and slow us down. You're not going to be able to run the ball, and you're forgetting we've got Darius Slay and Bradbury, who on a lot of other teams, he could be a number one in terms of corner. So you've got two of those guys. You've got good safety shell over the top. It's going to be hard to play us. Jalen Hurts, we know what he is. I think internally in the organization knows what Jalen Hurts is. All right. He's going to run the ball. If he can just play sound football, we'll do well in this year. But what people don't want him to do is, just like you were saying earlier, play hero ball, because I don't think he can play hero ball, So what needs to happen right now, heading forward, is run the ball through a committee, and we can build an offense through that. It's been proven, so if we can do that, I think this division is on lock. I don't see a lot of teams, with the exception of the Giants, but that's only because I don't know what they're going to bring. With the exception of the Giants, I think this division is on lock, which is why I had to pick my Eagles. So that's all I've got to say.
And Peter, finally, any
I
further?
went with the Eagles because they've got the best roster in the division from top to bottom. And well, I like to correct you a little bit. The best defensive player in Georgia was Jordan Davis. Without Jordan Davis, Kobe Dean don't get the space to fly around and make all those tackles. Jordan Davis ate all that space.
We got both, so it's all right.
Exactly. So I'm just correcting you. Without Jordan Davis, Kobe Dean don't do what he do. I'm a defensive line, by the way, because that's why I was picking my defensive line.
Jacksonville would argue it's Trayvon Walker. There's a lot of talent on that Georgia team, and they all feed off each other.
So Finn is a Georgia.
I'm a Georgia fan, so I like.
I agree with you. Like with Jacksonville, well, we all know edge rushers go higher than defensive tackles because the premium position. But when you really look at it, and for me, I'm excited for Jordan Davis because he fell to the right team for Jordan Davis, because I feel like, we'll talk about it later. But back to the division, what I'm saying is the Eagles have a very stacked roster. And, well, whether you like it or not, Jalen Hurts is going to be a franchise quarterback for the next five years. Okay? Accept
3.
it. It's 5. Accept it. Move forward with it. This roster was constructed for Jalen Hurts. They brought in.
This is like this is a dagger to the heart of the Minshew stan within Will, but
because you understand, they brought in AJ Brown, who's very good with scrambling quarterbacks. Okay, so when Jalen Hurts scrambles trying to throw the ball, AJ Brown will be there for him. All right, so lean into it. Love the guy. You love all his leadership and stuff. Forget about the throwing stuff. Your roster is good enough as it is. You've got excellent receivers. He doesn't need to be super accurate anymore because he's got, freakish wideouts now. He needs to be accurate.
He needs to be accurate enough. If he's starting to miss high percentage throws 30, 40 yards down the field,
but he ain't going to miss because your receivers can make miracles, isn't it?
I don't know, man. Not
ball's got to not hit the dirt first.
Yeah, Devontae Smith was looking at him sideways, even as a teammate. We've seen the footage of him turning around and being like, what the hell was that? So you just got to take that into account.
Well, what's it going to be like seeing one of your former teammates line up against your team?
Well, if I speak for like Josh Sweat and the rest of the defensive
line, one of your actual teammates. So, is it FA is on the Commanders?
FA. Yeah.
FA is on the Commanders. So that is the Brit link. So he is, I think, the sole. Well, aside from Jamie Gillan, the sole Brit within the NFL, within the position player. So he does tend to play rotation as well.
He is a rotational defensive end. Yeah, so I think.
Last but not the least, CD's gonna be a Cardinal very soon anyway. Just letting you guys know.
Everybody goes to the Cardinals in Peter's starry-eyed, but
What-
all right.
Bro, we are
Okay.
now the Oklahoma Cardinals. Like we're collecting Oklahoma students out here. Highlights
Yeah,
our
but
core GM
Jerry's
now.
not gonna let him go. Like that's his.
That's the thing.
That's
You're gonna
his
have to
guy.
pay. So yeah, that's his guy,
Jerry's not
right?
letting
Okay,
him
I
go.
must move us on to the next division, AFC East. Now, I will go first here, and I don't think any of us think that the Bills are not going to be the team that are going to win this division. And the Bills roster is incredible. Josh Allen is incredible. He is going to win that division extremely well. But the team that I have second is the Dolphins. And I think Tua with Hill I think Hill's gonna make a massive difference to Tua, because when I saw the Dolphins play last year live inside the stadium, I saw Tua just like it clicked in his head that I just have to throw the ball to Waddle and Waddle alone, because they weren't able to cover him at that time. Now with Tyreek and Waddle and Gesicki, I think that's a bit of a better of a winning formula, and I think also with Mike McDaniel as well, they've got a top level coach.
They've got an amazing mind there that's going to really unlock those two players. Like people don't understand, with players with that kind of speed, that could not only, because a lot of guys like a long time ago, they used to be like track guys that could play receiver, and then you just had fast guys that could play receiver. These guys are track guys, and they understand route running concepts. They can do it all. They can run after the catch, they can run inside, they can run outside. And it is extremely hard because you can't if you dedicate your whole defensive shell to stopping these two, they'll just run the ball. You know, Singletary has is it Singletary?
What, the Bills?
Yeah, so I'm thinking of the Bills here. My mistake. But yeah, so they can run the ball. So it's lethal what they've been able to build in Miami. You know, so I actually think, despite what everyone says, all the doomsayers about how he can't throw the ball far, he's not
they've got Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Miles Gaskin, and Salvon Ahmed. Not Ahmed, as all the Americans say.
Yeah, it's pick your poison with the Dolphins, and I actually think this is why I actually put them ahead of the Patriots, because we all kind of know what's happening with the Patriots as far as who's calling those offensive plays, in that we don't kind of know, you know, is it going to be the pencil, you know, from Detroit? I think you sort of know him, Matt Patricia, or is it going to be, or is it going to be Joe Judge as well? So we don't know what's going to happen. So in my opinion, despite how great Bill Belichick is, this kind of smells like another experiment. And I don't think in a division where you have the Bills, you can be experimenting. Because if this goes south early, you're not going to be able to work your way back. Because assuming the Dolphins come off hot out the gate, the Bills are going to be the Bills. You're not going to be able to recruit. So if Bill Belichick is looking to experiment with offensive play calling with the limited weapons he actually has on offense, you know, I think who do they get? Former Miami Dolphins
Devontae
wide
Parker.
receiver. Yeah, so I don't see how this is going to work out. And I actually have the Jets above them only because they've had such an
you have the
awesome
Pats
draft
finishing last, and I was going to bring you onto that.
Yeah, the reason why
the other guys.
Yeah.
Do you think he's mad for thinking that the Pats finish last? The Pats will finish last.
Where did I have them? I think the only reason I didn't have them last is because the Jets.
You have them third. I have them third.
Yeah, they're very bottom. Can you name a starter on that defense?
Well,
Exactly.
On the Patriots defense.
Yes, on the Patriots defense. J.C. Jackson's gone.
Right.
Their best DB's gone.
Okay.
Gilmore's gone. McCourty's fifth.
50.
Who's on the team?
I think
Who's on the
he's-
team?
Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
Jackson.
so-
There's nobody like the team is not.
Matt
in any
Judon
capacity.
is probably their best player,
Right.
and that's
The team is
Okay,
not.
so
All right,
here's
now
my
name a
caveat.
receiver on that team that's not named Devontae Parker.
All right.
Okay.
I mean
That-
they got rid
moving
of
on.
McKeel as well.
Right. So Najee Harris, or not Najee Harris, but Damian Harris is solid. You can, whatever you feel about Mac Jones.
Decent.
In my mind, I don't really keep that. Bill's great, and Bill will forever be the greatest coach in football history. I don't see that team finishing above the Bills. And then Miami, I like that defense. I'm a big fan of like Xavier Howard, and I think that they can, they've drafted young guys like Jalen Phillips out there as rusher. He's fairly solid. They got talent. I think they're going to find ways to get the football. At the end of the day, Tyreek Hill's Tyreek Hill. He is the premier offensive weapon in the NFL. So I'm excited to see what they do there. But I think we're on agreement with the Bills of the guys.
The Bills know all about the pitfalls of Tyreek Hill.
Right. So being creative, staying healthy, building Tua's confidence it's all key. But really, I think we're all in agreement here. The Bills with their additions of Von Miller, and just adding on to that team and how well they played last year, very impressive. So Josh Allen's on MVP watch for sure.
For sure. Anyway, I want the Patriots to finish second behind the Bills, because I believe in Bill. And the reason why I believe in Bill is because I think we're forgetting that Bill Belichick does his best work with guys that people don't know about. That's the thing, the whole mystique.
That was like 20 years ago, and that was Tom. It was the greatest ever.
That's because you had Tom Brady back there.
That's
All the warts. You haven't got that
You
no
ain't
more.
striking gold twice, Pete.
Okay, let's see. I mean, hey, I still choose believe in the coach. And to me, at the end of the day, Belichick, does his best work when, people are not expecting much of him.
Well, defensively, particularly, you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm talking mostly defensively. And I think the thing about the Patriots is that over the years, before the defensive players start to become household names, you don't know who those guys are. You hardly ever, like J.C. Jackson, who knew he was going to be a great cornerback before he went to the Patriots? Nobody. Like all these guys that Bill have on his defense, they become household names when they start playing for Bill. During the draft process, nobody pointed at J.C. Jackson as being a number one shutdown corner in the draft process. Nobody. But Bill always finds ways to get his guys going. So offensively,
to try and mold them into how he wants them to
I just believe that he's going to mold that defensive unit, and they're going to perform. Even without stars, the defense will be the bedrock of the teams. And I know the league is trending towards being, the league is hugely offensive dominated league, but there is a place for defense still. Defense still matters at some point in this league, and I think Bill is gonna do. I don't think they're gonna win the division, but they are gonna try and compete for a wild card spot, same as they did last year. And I think I'll give Bill the benefit of the doubt for doing something in the division.
Mm-hmm. Right. We will now move on to the division, which has probably had the most off-season talk for all the wrong reasons, but we're not going to talk about that specifically. So, AFC North. Finn?
Yeah. I think it's a two-horse race.
I think it's a two-horse race as well. I think.
Yeah,
Do we all think it's a two-horse race, Peter, Will?
Yeah, I agree.
Or are we discounting the guy who never goes under 500 as well?
I think we are. And I think Mike T is a phenomenal coach. Yes, Steelers don't have. Well, they drafted Kenny Pickett. We don't know how good Kenny Pickett is going to be, because he might not have the elite physical tools that
He's good enough to beat out Mitch.
Processes that, but he's good enough. He did beat out Mitch, but they still give the starting job to Mitch anyway, which I know he's going to replace Mitch at some point, because Mitch is going to be Mitch at some point.
Well, Mitch has been named a captain this week, but Finn, you were going to say about, all right, so you think it's a two-horse race?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers' defense is one of the most disrespected defenses in football. TJ Watt had an incredible year. Minka Fitzpatrick was incredible. Najee Harris cost me $1,000 parlay in the particular salty about that. I needed him 20 yards against the Chiefs, 20 more yards against the Chiefs. I would turn $10 into $1,000, but that's not Najee's fault. It's a good team that's built for a situation like this where the quarterback is in question. Right. Last year they were okay, right? Fringe playoff team with the corpse of Big Ben. But I think that there's going to be too much of a learning curve. And I really think that the Ravens and Bengals are going to take this one off. They're just going to kind of pull ahead. So I'm a big fan of both of those quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow might be my favorite quarterback in all of the NFL. He had a quote the other day that was like, if you run too high against Mixon, or it goes, you either have to run one high. Yeah, that was the quote, right? He basically said, or you could run too high or one high and run man. And in that case, good luck. Like, he's just cold, bro. He's just cold. Lamar's a fantastic guy. I think Greg Roman's maybe holding that team back in the past. I think they need to find ways to unlock
that is definitely the opinion of my brother. My brother's a Ravens fan, and he is effing and blinding at Greg Roman pretty much.
And we talked about Hollywood Brown, and Peter spoke a little bit on their, that confidence he sees. And yes, there's that connection, but one of the big quotes that Hollywood said was he just didn't ever feel like part of the success of that team. That whether he was there or not there, Lamar was going to make those plays and they were going to win.
That's a very good point.
I think there's big confidence for him going over there and being with Kyler and being with a guy. Hey, if I make mistakes, I know I'm going to get 3 to 4 more targets this game. So that's big for him. But again, with the Ravens, they've got to find a way. They went and got Bateman. And J.K. Dobbins is coming back, and J.K. Dobbins was very impressive in his limited stuff. So I really think it's going to be a fun battle to watch. But the Bengals, man, that team is just so well put together. They can do it all. So as long as they maintain the course, I see it as their division.
Yeah, they got a new indoor facility as well. It's good to see that.
Has it been opened, or is it on the way? I know they promised it.
I think, yeah. So it's good to see like the morale on that team, because the Bengals have been like historically known as like the cheap guys of the league. Like, if you go play for Cincinnati, like, you're gonna have to like get your barbecue out, etc. But it's good to see a city's being galvanized with what they've been able to do. They've been to the dance, and I think once you've been there, which is the same for the Bills, like
so close to winning the whole thing.
Exactly,
close.
You know the type of focus and workload is needed to get there, and they're not sort of going. If they get back there again, they're not going to get away empty-handed. I think they're going all in, and I just think they're such a hard team. In terms of their receiving core, just having a look with Boyd, and all those guys up in there, like they have all the weapons there. I think the Ravens, with their team being healthy this year. I mean, last year they were Mr. Bump. They were the Mr. Bump of the NFL. It's the bump. Yeah, I don't even think you could call them the Ravens. It was almost like a ghost of a team.
The Ra.
Yeah, and they were able to hang in there, which just speaks to their coaching, and how they're able to play, and depth as well. So I think that's what's going to help them, because they're one of the few teams that have incredible depth. But yeah, if Greg Roman doesn't get things done, they're going to be looking to take 2 scalps instead of just his. So I've seen people. It's funny you actually mentioned that, Finn, because I've seen people saying if they don't deliver this year, I'm not saying they have to win it all, but if they don't go on like a deep run, Greg Roman is on the chopping block 100%.
Right. It all kind of went downhill. Sorry, I mean to interrupt you, but it went downhill when they let Hayden Hurst go, and they had that really big tight end heavy offense, and then they just kind of let their tight ends go and just kind of trusted Mark Andrews over the top to be everything for the offense, and it just wasn't enough.
It just doesn't work, no. But they've really doubled down on running backs.
The question is this, though. I mean, I get the Greg Roman complaints, right? And I think one of the biggest things about the Ravens is the injuries that they had last year. And right now, I'm just praying for good health for them, because I think they could really try the Bengals here. Because think about it, before the Bengals had such an incredible season last year, the Ravens had this division under control. Lamar Jackson is just so phenomenal in terms of, even without him not being a consistent thrower of the football, he wins games. He finds a way to win games. And that's the one thing that you can count on for Lamar, is that he will find a way to win the game. And up until he got injured, they were actually leading the division up until he suffered his injuries and he wasn't able to play the rest of the year. But I think this year, he bulked up to try and cope better with the hits that's going to come his way. But also, all the same, for me, the biggest question mark here is this, and which we probably don't know the answers to, is it Lamar or is it Greg Roman? That's one of the biggest questions here. And also, Pay that man. He deserves his money. Let's give him his money. He deserves the same contract as Deshaun God. Give him his money. And then finally, what I'll say about this division is, it's a word of a caution. I don't think the Bengals will do that. I think the Bengals will make the playoffs. Whether they win the division or not, for me, is up for debate. But a word of caution is they lost the Super Bowl, and historically, teams that lose the Super Bowl tends to face regression. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's just my caution word of teams that lose the Super Bowl and then the following year, sort of like they don't really get back up to that level. So it's just a word of a caution for the Bengals.
Yeah, some teams never get back, and that's how hard this league is,
All right.
Oh, and also those three boys need to stop calling out cornerbacks because you don't want a tiger on your back. I saw them on the Pivot podcast, and I was like, you don't want to be doing that because, this league, you don't want to be giving bulletin board material, man.
What I will be watching for every Steelers game will be George Perkins with his patented Perkins push on these DBs. So
He's gonna bully some people out here.
I said the NFC East was a dog shit division to watch, and we're all losers, but we're all winners getting to watch AFC North football. There's going to be a lot of really good games and matchups just from the defensive side to Najee highlights to Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase to Lamar.
There's one matchup I'm looking forward to this year. Like, now that you talk about it, Finn, Jamar Chase versus Denzel Ward. That's the one matchup I'm looking forward to because they both went at it in the offseason. It started by Jamar going on the pivot, talking about when he sees Denzel is on site. I can't wait for that matchup.
Denzel gonna get cooked. I'm sorry. Jamar is that dude. Jamar is that dude. All right, when was the last time you saw a Denzel Ward highlight?
Last year, though, he didn't. Did you watch that? Denzel got a pick six of Jamar. He got a pick six of him, and every time Jamar was on Denzel, he couldn't get any catches on Denzel. He got on them other cornerbacks.
That's called a learning experience.
He didn't cook Denzel. That's why I say when he sees Denzel is on site.
It's hard, but it'll be interesting for Jamar because everyone knew the deal with him halfway through last year's season. But now, especially, teams are going to tee off on him. It's not a case of he's a rookie. We know he's good, but let him show us. They're not gonna hold back.
But do you know what? But do you know what it is about that Bengals offense? Those two other guys in the wide receiver corps. They are no mugs.
Yep.
T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd can break a game if they want to.
Yeah.
If they're left, if you cover the first two guys, Tyler Boyd can win it.
Yeah.
Mixon can win it from behind. That is the thing. They've got that many weapons.
Their 2 and 3 can beat your one corner.
Right. If anything, though, Uzama was a great, reliable threat for him who's now in New York. So, but I'm not really too particularly impressed with that team. But yeah, that's the only drop that they had.
I love their receiving core and they're incredible, those three guys. But it's just, for me personally, I just feel like if you're good, and I know you're good, just don't go like pissing off some cornerback groups in the league. In an interview like that, because you might be able to get away with a lot of teams, but let's say you play the Chargers, they have a really good secondary. You play the Browns, who have quite a good secondary. Let's say if you face a team that have three good cornerbacks, them boys will come to play. And in this league, players do watch social media and stuff, and they take notice, like, so they mean that we are all scrubs. Like, the person might not even be a great cornerback, but when they play you, they magically turn into a great cornerback because they've seen what he says. So it's just a word of caution. Like, if you're good, just don't piss off other cornerbacks. Like, just be good.
Yeah. You want to stay below the radar.
All right. Now we're going to move on to the NFC North. Dipping from the AFC side to the NFC side. Well, this is Finn's division. The Lions, how are they going to do? How do you think they're going to come bottom? Do you think they're going to come first, second, third?
Well, I think everybody that watched Hard Knocks is fairly optimistic on the Lions. On paper, it's it's a really well put together team, right? You have a very complete offensive line that's built around Power and Sewell, and you got T.J. Hawkinson, who kind of had a breakout year, and he's playing well. Swift, but again, the stars have to really align, and everybody has to stay healthy. So I don't have the bias that some of us have had. I will not put my team atop the division.
Well, I think all three of us have put our teams to win the division, but Will had a very, very good reason. But
I think the top end for the Lions is a 9-8 season. I am a believer in Jared Goff. I think that we don't need to rush to replace him unless there really is a downgrade in play. But I'm very curious to see how we go with Ben Johnson at offensive coordinator. It's a solid team. Aiden Hutchinson's a very fun. It's a fun team to watch. But at the end of the day, we're doing what everybody else does, just kind of collectively holding our breath, trying to make it until that Jameson Williams debut. He is in my mind, the best offensive player out of this draft. And I'm just very excited because that's just not a Lions pick. The Lions don't get guys like that. The Chiefs get guys like that. The Eagles get guys like the Lions don't get the Jameson Williams of the draft. So
it was
very
a great
excited
move, though.
Oh, fantastic. Dude, I thought they were trading up to get Malik, and I was going to lose it. Oh, man. I was just glad we didn't take him at 2. And then they trade up, and I was panicking. I was like, oh, God, they just took Pickett. We're going to take Willis, and we're just going to start him way too early. And we took Williams. I was very happy.
So a quick question for you. So let's say Detroit, finishes 9, 8, and 9, which is a huge improvement over last year.
Right.
And 2023 draft comes around, and CJ Stroud, Bryce Young,
right? Because we do have 2 first, so
3 elite. Would you want Detroit to get a rookie quarterback that could take your team to the next level, provided because Detroit one of those teams that I can see guys have talent. And a rookie quarterback could even make the playoffs with the roster you guys have, provided he's supremely talented.
Right.
Would you want that, or do you want to still keep building around Goff and hopefully trusting Goff to take you there?
It's a tough question because at its core, the ceiling of those guys coming off of let's just assume it's their best college year, right? Let's just say Young repeats how well he played last year. I think one, we're not going to be in a place to take them if we do have such a good season. So that's the first thing. But let's just pretend this world that we have the offer right there. We spend both of our 2 first round picks to go up and get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. It's tough not to say yes. It's really tough. It really depends on how well Goff plays. If we went 9-8 and we saw the Jared Goff from 2018 that was uber confident, and because the big thing about that Lions room is how well they feed off of each other in the leadership. So I can only imagine a situation where you just had a winning season. Maybe you've made the playoffs. Jared Goff's playing with so much confidence being poured into this leader, and then to immediately rip that out of that locker room and be like, hey, here's a young rookie who has no idea what he's doing. And he might make us better, or he might not be able to make us better. There's plenty of talent. So I think at its core, you just have to be very critical of the quarterback decision. Jared is young. He'd be 28 around this time frame. You have to ask yourself, hey, what the ceiling? So I think if you're in a position to do so, you do it, because even then you don't have to start him. If I have an opportunity to take Bryce Young, I'll take Bryce Young, and we'll just stick with Jared for a season. And and if we do improve upon that, and then you see 10 wins and then the playoffs, okay, you're where you need to be. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you do it, how you do it. Then you let Jared walk. Maybe you say, hey, Jared, we're going to go with the young guy here because it's a rookie deal and we can sign people. And then you send Jared off of taking the dog shit Lions to the playoffs. The return on that is going to be massive. There's a lot of opportunities. So I think if you have an opportunity to take Bryce Young coming off of a better season or as good of a season last year, you have to. But other than
depending
that,
on what pick you get,
right,
will determine.
Right. But other than that, I'm not rushing to replace him with anybody else. Let's say that I'm not rushing the free agent. I'm not looking at Gardner Minshew. I'm not looking at Jimmy Garoppolo. It has to be these young guys coming off their best year. So Somebody
So
must be a
going to
Gardner
the-
Minshew fan.
Will
that guy.
is the biggest of
To this
Richie's
day.
No, but
fans.
Kyler
here's my
Murray's
caveat,
draft. He's
though.
the second. Kyler Murray's draft to this day. He's still the second best quarterback in terms of performance from that draft.
Bruh,
Let that
listen,
sink in.
Me share the franchise quarterback. There was only one franchise quarterback left in that draft. That was Kyler Murray. Let it go. Let it go.
All right,
but I'm
no,
saying
we're gonna
franchise
we're
Let it
gonna
go.
keep this back to
Let
the
it go.
NFC North, right? Okay, so we all believe that the same team is going to be winning this division, correct? We think that the bad man up in Green Bay is going to win it, correct?
The best
Yeah.
best right arm to ever throw a football is going to win this division
Yep.
easily.
And
I have to
then-
admit, I was kind of teetering with your Lions because I was considering putting them at 2, but like I said, they're going with this new look. Like I said, it's almost like a team that's been reborn, you know. So I'm
Right.
trying to work out what they're gonna be. So that's the only reason I didn't put them at 2. But between me and the Vikings, I was moving up and down.
Close. If
Yeah,
you know, with
close.
us considering our strength of schedule, considering how, I mean, the Vikings are a great team. Don't get me wrong, but I think they could have if they have a down year defensively. Sure, absolutely. I mean, the Lions
Listen.
almost beat them. They did beat them once, and they almost beat them twice. It was a game-winning field goal. So, you know, while the Vikings are a great team, I'm with you on that.
I actually put your Lions to finish second in the division. I actually believe that because, and it's not because of Jared Goff, it's because of your head coach. I mean, if I was a player, I would run through a wall for Dan Campbell because here's a coach. He's shown that he's a leader of men. He really leads those guys, and I like how he motivates the troops. And I think this year more than ever, that Detroit will be a hard team to beat. Like if you're gonna beat Detroit, it'll have to be you have so much talent, or your scheme is absolutely excellent. Because Detroit's gonna come and play hard,
Right.
and you're gonna have to play hard. And I think it's one of those things whereby I think when I played football back in Brunel, you know, there's certain teams where you beat them, but then the next day when you're recovering, you're like, "Huh, it hurts."
Yep.
Man, that was a hell of a game. Yeah.
That's the type of team Detroit's gonna be. So
Yep.
if you beat them, your recovery, you're gonna be like, "Huh, that was a tough game," and they're gonna give it tough to everybody. And I have much faith in your Lions, and I actually think they could surprise them, end up finishing second in the division. Because
So
as good as the Vikings are, they're getting a new head coach from the Rams, Kevin O'Connell, similar to Mike McDaniels. They're the new breed that have been talked about as being able to be very good for the team. But I think the Vikings might regress defensively. I don't know who their new DC is going to be. So that might give the Lions an advantage. So I'm pulling for the Lions, man.
So the reason why I put the Vikings second is those offensive pieces. I think Dalvin Cook remains healthy for the majority of the season, so therefore they're able to run the ball very well. And the thing is, Mattison is not a bad running back as a backup at all.
Yeah.
They have Justin Jefferson, who is completely and utterly insane as a player, and Thielen. You still can't count out a guy like that.
I don't
The only
believe in
reservation I have
Kirk
is Kirk Cousins. That's the only
Well,
reservation I
that's
have
why I
about
put the
that.
Lions second. Because I think
But then I have the same reservations about Jared Goff. I think Kirk Cousins is better than Goff. So it's
but then
when I say one's a 6 out of 10, one's a 5 out of 10. That's what it is. When I say it's better, there's not much of it, muchness. Yeah, one's just like a smidge better than the other. But
Yeah.
I do have the Bears finishing third, and this is not a slight on the Lions itself. I think
actually
it's
a
more
slight.
of just. I think it's for some reason I have this inkling that somehow Fields is going to do something this year, and I think it's more of
With
a
who?
gut than a. I don't know. That's the problem. I think just he's going to will wins, but I think
It's not sustainable, even if you
yeah,
wanted
I
to
think.
do it.
I
Without
think
offensive line,
the more that we talk about it, the more I'll probably be convinced that they're going to finish rock bottom. But it's more of
I get where you're coming from, Dilly. I think I get where you're coming from. I think Justin Fields, right, will probably do similar to Herbert. Maybe not the numbers, but let me explain what I mean. He's gonna prove he's a franchise quarterback, but it's not going to be in wins. It's going to be in how good he plays, how good he looks. Like he's going to make somehow the Bears will be competitive in games, even though they're going to lose a lot of games. But let's say the Bears finish the season they only get 4 wins, or maybe they only get 5 wins. Out those, it still proves that he is a franchise quarterback. They just got to go and build around him.
I think
at the end of Justin Herbert's rookie season, the Chargers were like 4-12, but they were quite low in terms of the wins. But he actually proved that he can play.
They also just lost almost every single game by a single score. That was the thing. That was the Chargers kind of
but
saying that
everyone was optimistic. Everyone was optimistic because they saw how Herbert played, and it wasn't a case of Herbert's not like it's a bad team. Everyone was like, they weren't talking about what a bad team the Chargers were. They were talking about, damn, they got a crazy good quarterback. That team's going to go places. And I think, just like Pete said, I think that's what's going to happen with the Bears. Now, they need to sort of move away from that mindset and understand that they need to support him. They need to build on that offensive line. They need to give him weapons. They don't need to get rid of weapons. They need to get them for him. So until that happens, it's going to be a whole lot of wishing and a what if, for him. So I'm wishing him all the best. Kind of like Matt Stafford. You know what I mean? Like once he got what he needed, we were able to see what he could do. And everyone in Detroit loved Matt Stafford. I think, Finn, you can speak for it yourself. Like you all knew how good he was, despite the record he had.
Dog. All right, so I did some journalism for the Lions for Sideline Report, and that he was probably the most turned on player I've ever seen. Constantly blamed for everything. So you'd be surprised. The Detroit fanship is an enigma. They are a weird group of people. They are very quick to turn on Stafford. So while everybody else saw a fringe elite quarterback being held back by a roster, all of Detroit fans were split. Every radio call, Stafford needs to go. He sucks. We need Sam Bradford, or we need dude. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna move it. So I need to move us. I need to move us on to the next division.
One question for Finn. He just touched on just quickly. Finn, quickly. Just wanted to ask. In light of what you just said, my quick question was, clearly it appears that the Lions failed Stafford, right? As in, like, he couldn't, he did the best that he could to try and raise that team, to success, but ultimately, they failed him. And I think, would you say more? It was more to do with like the type of coaches that got him early on. But I don't think he really had an offensive coach until Jim Caldwell came in much later.
It's really, really bad drafting. It's really, really bad drafting. That's really what it comes down to. And just really bad luck, right? Guys like Titus Young, who came in and played well and he had some mental stuff that was going on. I'm not going to say anything negative about a person I never met, but, he had some stuff. So he left the team. Javid Best, a fantastic talent out of Cal, draft him, career-ending injury. I was in Nashville for the NFL draft a couple years ago, and second-round pick, we're like, Greedy Williams is available. We should be taking Greedy Williams, or DK Metcalf was available, and everybody was like, well, he's a first-round pick. Well, here he is in the middle of the second round. We should take him. And then we take Jelani Tavai, a linebacker nobody's ever heard of from Hawaii. At the end of the day, it was really bad personnel management. We drafted Kyle Van Noy, an edge rusher from Boise State, and asked him to play off-ball linebacker. He, of course, sucked, and then went to the Patriots and became an edge rusher who played great football for championship level caliber teams. At the end of the day, it was just personnel mismanagement, the inability to create a reliable run game and create reliable targets. Now, where there were good moves sprinkled in, the acquisition of Golden Tate and Marvin Jones, fantastic players for the division, but we see it. Getting creative minds, we stuck behind not Vince Lombardi, but I think Joe Lombardi's and Saints offense trying to replicate the same deal. There's just a lot of issues going on. So ultimately, I think it was just the mismanagement and never being able to put together a good team, and also being a small market team where free agents aren't exactly ready to go to. So, oh, and here's the little one.
Hey.
She's bugging
Right,
me.
so-
It's almost dinner time for us, so she's hungry.
So I'm going to move us on to the AFC South, and okay, I'm just going to say it. JT, Matty Ice, they're going to win this title. That's it. That's all I need to say. All right, that's all that needs to be said. All right. Finn, Peter, you guys can actually discuss it because this division's on lock. Sorry.
All right. Okay. Here's my thing. I actually went with the Titans because the King is back, and touch wood, the King will not get injured this year. And if the King is back, they will still remain favorites for me because I don't know who's going to stop the King.
Yeah,
Well-
kind of like the same sentiment from me, but the Jags. I mean, the only way up for them, the only direction for them really is up. They've got a competent coach. They've got ATN coming back. Like he didn't play his rookie year, so you're definitely going to see a new look from them. Like, don't discount them 100%. Like, I think the Texans still have a long way to go. Who's their QB? Is it Davis Mills?
It's still Mills. Yeah, it's still Mills.
It's still Mills. So I think they can definitely do a few things. But like I said, I think it's really a 2-horse race with the Colts.
I think
and,
the Texans are going to be bottom.
Yeah, this is
Jaguars
basically
are going to improve.
Lawrence's.
They're
This
gonna
is
be-
basically his rookie year. Like, I'm writing off the whole of last year because I don't know what was going on in that organization back then. But this is essentially his rookie year. So if you go by the NBA standard, he might be able to win Rookie of the Year. Well, it won't because he actually played. But that's
It'd be very interesting. I think adding a young edge rusher to that team to pair with Josh Allen is fantastic. I think there's a lot of upside to that roster. I kind of don't see a lot of the Derrick Henry hype. Don't really buy into it too much. He's a fantastic and maybe ball in hand, maybe the most like lethal running back in the NFL. But once that team gets down, he's effectively useless. And I mean that in the nicest of ways. But Derrick Henry is not a running back that you worry about at all when the Titans are down.
Yeah. I'll have to disagree a little bit. Last year before he got injured, dude had 937 yards in 8 games. He was on pace to smash his 2000th in last year until he got injured. Like, he went through that stretch where he was just getting 200 yards like 3 consecutive weeks, just like that.
Sure. Right, but also, AJ Brown's gone. Julio Jones is gone. That team doesn't have anybody at receiver. They don't have a quarterback that anybody's concerned about. They're not going to throw
Bobby
Malik
Woods
Willis
is the
to the
only guy,
wolves,
right?
huh?
Bobby Trees, Robert Woods.
Right,
is the main-
right. And I like Robert Woods, but I mean, he's not
He's-
exactly a world beater, but he's not AJ
Lost
Brown.
it. Yeah, he's been in the league a long time.
He's very. I mean, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
See, the reason why I still think, for me, the X factor here is Vrabel. Vrabel can coach now.
It is a very good
He
defense.
can
It is.
manufacture some wins whereby there were the last couple of seasons, right, before Derrick Henry got injured this past season before, they won games where people were not expecting them to win, and they somehow pulled it out of the bag, and that's down to coaching.
Yep. They're
Excellent
very good
coaching.
defense. Caleb Farley was a great pick who's going to come into his own. They've got Kevin Byard, all pros all around. And pro. I think you're right. I think they're actually going to be in contention, but I just think here's my game breakers, Matty Ice. If that arm can produce 30 touchdowns worth of football, he's got the experience to not make the plays Carson Wentz tried to make. And they can win those Colts. Remember, this is a Colts team that all the way up till maybe the last couple weeks was just they were set sailing for the playoffs, and all they needed to do was not fuck it up, you know. So Matt, if Matt's arm is on the good side of 40, then okay. But if he has a severe regression, his ability to place the football, then
and from
should
what
be
I've
there.
seen from camp, it's not been the case. It's been he's
Right.
on the better side. So
Right. He's never been a guy that's relied on a super talented arm and heavy, deep threat arm anyways, but he can play, and I think he knows his limitations. And also they've got the run game. So I think if Matty can't adjust quickly, I think the Tennessee's right there waiting for them to struggle.
waiting for the Colts to mess up. All right. So who did you actually have down to win the division? I didn't actually catch that.
For me, it was the Titans.
You're right.
So you
Titans.
Peter and Will for the Titans, me and Finn for the Colts. Go us. No bias whatsoever. All right, the NFC
Notice I
South.
put Dilly's team first, and Dilly put my team fucking last.
Could at least get him third, man.
Know this for in 7 months.
Boy, man, come on.
You could have put him third at least.
Our post regular season debrief when.
Yeah. Just remember
Right.
that
So NFC South.
Somebody believes
I think-
in Jameis a little too much.
No. This is not him believing in Jameis. Peter, aside from your pure dislike of TB12, why are the Bucks gonna finish not first in that division?
Because their defense is not like how it was 2 years ago. They've had regression. They don't. I mean, I don't think the defense is as good as it used to be now, unless Todd Bowles can work. Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong; he's top 5 defensive coordinator in the NFL. I get that, but I look at the Saints roster, and people are not noticing this. The Saints have a very good roster right now. Their roster is deep. Mike Thomas is back. Chris Olave, who is going to be a very impressive rookie wide receiver, gives them another option. They've got Alvin Kamara when Kamara saw out his issues and stuff, and I believe he's going to play at some point this season. And Dennis Allen is a Tom Brady kryptonite because the playoffs that they beat the Saints during Drew Brees' time, well, Drew Brees had no arm left. And in that game, Tom Brady threw, I think, 2 interceptions or something, which Drew Brees had no arm, so they couldn't take advantage of. Otherwise, they would have beaten the Bucks. And I think Tom Brady hadn't beaten the Saints. His record against the Saints in that division is very poor, actually. I don't think he's won a game, or maybe he's just won.
But what I see is
Allen knows how to get to
but-
Tom Brady.
so I see the Saints
my thing.
beating the Bucks, but they don't win the division.
They do.
Because
I mean, who else is
it's
going to beat
like-
him in the division?
No, I meant they don't win because of all the other games, the non-division
Yeah, but
games.
so I mean, I think I could see the Saints going 5-1 or 6-0 in the division, and they just going to get 4 or 5 more wins somewhere else, which they could, which they're capable of having. Because one, I think Jameis is going to play really well within that offense because he's got weapons around him, and I think Jameis in that year that he played with Drew Brees, I believe he had learned because I think this past season, if he didn't get injured, the Saints probably may have made the playoffs. We don't know because Jameis got hurt and had to miss the rest of the season. But before he got hurt, he was playing really well for the Saints, and they were actually getting some wins under their belt. And also, there's 2 factors. Jameis will play well. The biggest factor, number 1 for me, is Dennis Allen is Tom Brady's kryptonite. Brady hasn't found a way to beat a Dennis Allen defense yet since he moved to the NFC South. And that's my biggest reason for that. Plus, he's a HGH matchup.
I think
All right.
Pete is leaning really hard into that, but the fact that the Saints are almost the kryptonite to the Buccaneers. But I mean, there is actual truth to that. Like if you look at their last 5 matchups, I believe the Bucks have only beaten them once. So it's kind of like there's something in the water over there. So I that being said, I think that's really your only claim to fame there, Pete. I do think the Bucks are going to run away with the division overall. Just like Dilly said, they'll probably lose the Saint matchups, but we'll see. Tom Brady can
There's another
break
11
curses.
games. I think there's another 11 games to worry about. Okay,
The
so
greatest ever. I said it in your terms. The greatest ever. I don't know how you're going to say in one breath that you trust Bill Belichick and then in the other, just Tom Brady. I'm giving you a hard time. I think it's a very valid complaint. Well, I think it's very valid because Michael Thomas is back. Regardless of everything, whether I disagree
How do you
with
think
it.
Chris Olave is going to do?
I think Chris is a good, talented guy. I think he thrives in a wide receiver 2 situation, and that team is built around who are you going to guard? Because again, it's just so many mismatches, and Alvin Kamara causes so many issues. Mark
And
Ingram's
Kamara is
back,
not going to get suspended
so
this season. It's likely. So it's
so
likely that he won't get suspended. So they're going to do quite well, right? So all of us are 3 of us are saying Buccaneers win. Peter is saying Saints win.
I don't think it's a bad upset call.
And we are all saying that the Falcons are saying us being rock bottom, and the Panthers just not quite going well. 3 of us
They're a fun
having
team.
to finish 3rd, but Will,
Yeah,
you said they're going to finish 2nd, is what you'd put on. So you think that the
Baker swagger, huh?
I think, the Baker swagger. I think he's gonna bring a new. I mean, how can I say? He's kind of like rejuvenate the team, and he's gonna bring his toughness to that team, which I think they've kind of lacked. You know, I've been supporting Sam Darnold for the longest time, but he's lost out on too many QB battles for me to kind of like wave his flag anymore. So I'm resolute in that. Like,
well, he's
they
gone on
moved
to IR now, so definitely he's definitely
yeah, but when that team has a healthy CMC, Christian McCaffrey, you know, they're able to do some things. And I think with Baker Mayfield as a complement to that, you know, I think they're going to do well. You know, this is a new home for him. It's a fresh start. And don't be surprised, like a team that's desperate will play a lot harder. Like that coaching staff that they have there, if this doesn't work out, that's them gone. You know what I mean? So I think they're going to... Yeah, exactly. So I think they're going to put Baker, and they're going to make sure they put him in the best position to succeed 100%.
All right. Well, before we move on to the awards section, we've got to thank Finn for coming in for the majority of this podcast. He has now got to run away and do some household.
Yeah, I got some dad duties to get into, some
duties,
food.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate y'all having me on. It's nice to meet you, Will and Peter.
Thanks,
no worries, man. You too.
Nice to meet you too.
I know
Hopefully we can get you on down the line during the season.
Absolutely, Dilly. Anytime you'd like to have me on, I'm more than happy to. Especially if the Lions start having a good year. But I definitely just want to throw out anybody from my stream that pop by. Please drop these dudes a follow. I think you guys are on YouTube as well, right? Is that where you upload the stuff, the final stuff, Dilly? Or so we'll make sure we share.
We'll be. So at the moment, we co-stream between the two.
Okay.
But as soon as we go to affiliate status on Twitch, obviously that changes.
Okay.
You can't do that.
Is the final clip uploaded here to YouTube though? Like afterwards?
It
like
is.
pod?
The whole thing is on YouTube live.
Sure.
And
Okay. Well, everybody watching
well.
From the stream, I appreciate y'all popping through, and
Much appreciated.
Yeah, it's always cool to see something like guys from the UK that are into football. I mean, obviously, it's not your number one sport. But it's cool. It's cool to see the reach because years ago that wasn't the same case, or at least we didn't know about it, right? We assume over here that we're the only fans of football.
The number of podcasts is insane.
Right. So it's really cool. I mean, maybe one day you guys will get on All Sports. We're getting Dilly into NASCAR slowly on my end. So, but I'll spare you guys the smashy is what Dilly called it. So, well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'll see you guys in the future, and I'll be listening in on the rest to hear your guys' award predictions. So later, dudes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Finn. Cheers.
See you soon, Finn. Yep.
Right. Okay. Awards themselves. Right. So we are going to be predicting MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, rookies, both sides, comeback, coach, and what our Super Bowl matchup. And I will mention what Finn had picked for each one of them, but obviously he isn't there to explain why. But so, first of all, MVP, because that's what we're going to start off with. Peter.
So MVP is a homer pick. I believe in my guy, and I believe this year.
I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked that Kyler's going to be is your MVP pick.
And I picked Kyler Murray. You guys may not be shocked. I think if this was like we're on the NFL Network, everybody would be surprised by my pick. But I have a reason to believe that he's gonna take a major statistical leap this season. And touch wood, by God, I think this year he finally plays all games. He doesn't get nicked up. hopefully, and then if he doesn't get nicked up, he wins the MVP. And normally, typically, um, until Rodgers won the last 2 years in a row, a lot of MVPs have come as a surprise. I mean, when Matt Ryan won it, nobody expected him to win it that year. Um, Before that, there were some people that win MVP and you don't expect them to win it during that particular year. So Kyler is a way left field. He's not considered a favorite right now. But going back to last season, he was kind of like he was the leader in the MVP race until he got nicked. So I do believe that if he happens to stay on form and he always starts the season very well, and if he doesn't get injured, and the Cardinals win at least 11 to 12 games, he'll have a strong case to win MVP.
All right. Well, my pick is Josh Allen because I think he is going to be as
Everybody's
insane
favorite.
this year. I just see him continuing on this stratospheric, like just being this top level guy. And the thing is, he's just gonna with that team having more even though it's not on his side of the ball, more defensive players available, just means that's going to highlight him even better. He's going to get more position. He's going to get the ball even more. So that's why I think he's going to be shining so much. Will, who do you think is going to be it? The MVP.
Yeah,
of the league?
I think both me and Finn have picked Russell Wilson, and what I want to say is that this is more of a case of I think Josh Allen is also an amazing choice, but I think what Russell Wilson is going to do in the season early, it's going to be one of those situations where he gets off to such a crazy start and hits crazy numbers over like a 7-game run that everyone else is going to be in that race with him, but they're sort of playing catch up. So that's why I'm going to put him there. It's going to be like one of those things where I believe last year, Brady was right there. Aaron Rodgers was right there as well. Kyler was like a bit of a dark horse, but he was still in the runnings, so.
No, Kyler wasn't a dark horse. Kyler was leading until he got nicked. You know that. Don't say he was a dark horse. He was actually leading the vote until he got nicked.
Yeah, but that was because of what he was able to achieve earlier in the season. I think a lot of these voters, a lot of the people who make these choices, they tend to go on, like, if you start off really hot, like if you start off well, it's up to the other players to try and beat where you're at, or to try and match you, if not surpass you. So it's always hard to be the second or third man in the race.
There's also a case for people that also turns it on from mid to late season. Like Aaron Rodgers didn't start the season hot, but from the midpoint to the end of the season, he was red hot, and that's how he won it last year.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard, but I'm just gonna go with Russ only because I think he's actually gonna do really good out the gate, and it's not gonna be just playing well. I think he's gonna push away from everyone else early, and then it's everyone else's job, like Josh Allen, Kyler, and all those other guys to try and catch up.
All right. Offensive Player of the Year. And this is probably the reason why I thought the Vikings were going to finish second. And I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson within their division. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be lights out completely for this team. And that's why I think he's going to win this award. I don't think anyone has any doubts on his talent and his capabilities. And I think under this new whole coaching setup over there, I think it's just going to ball out even more. That's just how I think that's going to be. Peter?
I went with Davante Adams. I think he's probably going to end up being this year's version of a Cooper Kupp. Might not result in the team honors like Cooper Kupp got, which is the Rams won the Super Bowl, but the Rams is a much more talented roster than the Raiders. But I think Davante is going to prove that he was a big part of Aaron Rodgers' success as much as Rodgers was a big part of his success. And I think going back to Derek Carr, I don't think we'll see a drop-off. I think he's really going to show out and improve on his numbers and probably maintain his status quo as the number one wide receiver in the league. I think last year Cooper Kupp kind of like rightfully took the crown a little bit, but I think Davante is going to come back to prove it again.
Yeah, no, I think that Davante Adams pick is good, but I'm just going to clap back a little bit on that. Do you think having other guys on the team like Waller, Renfro, do you think that's going to affect him as far as
It's what eats into the target
statistically,
share.
statistically what he's going to be able to achieve. It could be a case of, like I said, like Jamar Chase, you have guys on the team that are just as capable, but because it's
Yeah,
that
but my
college
caveat.
to receiver
Okay,
wide
so
connection, maybe that plays a big role on it.
So
okay,
just a
so
note,
but my
Finn did put Chase, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he
okay.
put Jamar Chase.
Okay, my caveat to that is this: Devontae Adams is one of those people who call they can beat double coverage. Yes or no?
Yep, it can be any coverage.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter who's playing next to him or what. If even if it's called by two guys, sometimes just throw him the ball, he's gonna make a play. He is one of those special guys that when they double cover him, he will still make a play. Now, I could caveat that with let's put it this way: Cooper Cup had an outstanding, incredible year last season, but I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but I just believe that Cooper Cup plays for the perfect system for his skill set that enables him to dominate as much as he does. Because I don't think Cooper Cup has the physical talent that Devontae Adams has to be able to dominate on the outside and win in double coverage on the outside. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Right.
I see what you mean.
And Devontae Adams on the outside, on the inside, he can play anywhere virtually. And when you double cover him on the outside, on the inside, he'll make that play because of his physical gifts and talent. And I think one thing I've been very impressed by Devontae Adams is he took time to develop, and he's really developed, especially how he gets open. It's incredible.
All right. Well, who do you think is going to be it? Because
I had Devontae Smith on this one, and I know it's a bit of like a hometown choice here, but I'm gonna say the reason why I picked him is only because we got AJ Brown. Him taking, because I think AJ Brown is gonna be the number one.
Yep.
And it's kind of crazy, but Smith is going to be the number two, but we all know he's number one caliber.
He's a
and the
1B,
matchups, the matchups he's going to be up against, like he can beat the majority of people off the line. He can run every route in the book, inside and outside. His versatility, and if you think about it, he has that history with Jalen Hurts at Alabama. So it's kind of like I feel as though if there's a season where he's going to be successful, this is going to be one of the seasons, because obviously we have AJ Brown for quite a while now, but this is definitely going to be one of the seasons where I think he's going to blow up. He might not be the star of the league, but as an offensive weapon, he's not going to be denied. I think he'll win his matchups, and as long as Jalen gets him the ball, he's going to have a big year.
Listen, there's no caveat to this. If you're picking Devonta Smith to win the best player of the year, then Jalen Hurts is your franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I mean,
yeah.
Devonta Smith wins offensive player of the year, you go accept that Jalen Hurts is your franchise quarterback.
Correct.
Because he's the one that's throwing him the football.
All right. Well,
he's the Eagles starting quarterback.
We're moving swiftly on to defensive player of the year, and I'm going to say TJ Watt, and I think he breaks the record this year. I think he actually does it for sacks. I think he does what his brother did and has two ridiculous seasons. So that is a reason, and I think he could even, if he breaks it, does he smash his way even in towards MVP discussion, being a potential defensive player? If say the Steelers make the playoffs somehow, and he gets the record, is he in that discussion?
If he gets the record and plays, let's say, not taking into account his sacks, and plays the way he did last year, I think it's going to be very hard to not. I mean, there's going to be, like, we're talking pitchforks. There'll be people out with flags being like, "Hey, listen, like, what's it going to take?" It's kind of
What's
like
it going to take for a non-QB to get it?
For a non-QB, for a non-offensive player, like, it's hard.
Yeah, as a defensive guy, you two are defensive guys, so you're going to love it.
Yeah, but I would love for it to happen, but we all know it's like an offense-driven league.
It's QB award.
The only way it happens is if JJ Watt's season is more than the numbers. He could lead the league in sacks,
TJ's
forced fumbles. Yeah, TJ. He could lead the league in sacks, forced fumbles, tackle for losses, and we get
something
that.
Else.
But it's kind of like
it needs that team to top, like win the division
No.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if the Steelers somehow magically win the division, I think he will need. It's not like it has to be beyond. What I mean beyond numbers is he has to be almost
Transcendent,
unblockable every single
Yeah.
game. Like, you know, when LT won it back in 1986, he was literally wrecking teams every single game. Like, he was destroying teams every single game. And I think that's the effort it's going to take, because it's such an offensive league now, for a defensive player to win.
You win
League
anything that
MVP.
isn't defensive player of the year. All right. You two's picks. You have a
Both
similar.
picked
You
Micah.
have the
Yeah, I think we both went Micah Parsons. I went Micah Parsons because here's the thing. TJ Watt is incredible. And if he breaks the sack record, he most likely will deserve it. But if Micah Parsons get 15 plus sacks and is looking real good, I don't see how they don't give it to him, because you know how the last Cowboys is such a big
What if
brand,
it-
a big star.
But what if he gets 15 plus sacks and he gets 20 plus sacks?
But here's the
Is it-
thing, though, is a Dallas bias, the Dallas media. Think about it.
That hype
It's
train
just-
is gonna.
the
They're gonna
hype train is just
campaign.
so much.
They're gonna
And-
lobby.
And
There's
Jerry's
gonna
gonna
be
be
under the desk
15 plus sacks this year.
kickbacks.
Mike-
Like they're
And I
gonna.
think they're gonna rush him more.
Yeah, with the acquisition of Anthony Barr, they're gonna use him more as an edge rusher. Last year they had him
Exactly.
doing some foolishness deep down the field. Like, don't get me wrong, he did a good job. He was running with wide receivers. He did really well, but that's not where he belongs. He
Yeah, but
belongs
majority
just like
of the time
Von
he was
Miller.
on the
He
edge,
he needs to go forward. But now with the acquisition of Anthony Barr, and they're basically going to use him as an edge rusher, because there was talk of him being a linebacker, but word around the camp in Dallas is that they're going to strictly use him as an edge rusher now. So that's going to
Alright.
help him hit those numbers. So yeah,
And Finn said it was going to be Aaron Donald, and we all know what Aaron Donald is capable of.
I wouldn't be surprised. He does this every
would.
year. He's always in the
he's
MVP
always there
talks
or
every
thereabouts.
year. He's always there. Yeah.
Right. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Me and Peter have the same guy. And the reason why, my reason for picking Chris Olave is that can't guard Mike is on the other side, and I think that's going to allow Olave. And the thing is, Jameis is going to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah. And
That's the thing, and he's going to,
Yeah.
and that's why it's going to give Olave the stats to be able to give him
Yeah.
this award. That's why. That's
he
the
can
reason
throw
why
the
I
ball
think.
deep. And I think Olave is a deep threat receiver. If you watch his tape on Ohio State, he can really open up the field. So I think that's kind of like he's in a good offense for this, you know. So I think he's in the right situation.
Absolutely. I think if Jamison Williams for Detroit was not injured and he was healthy to start the year, I probably would have gone with him, because he's probably the best receiver in the pass rush based on talent. But Olave will have the opportunity right from the get-go. And I think Olave is going to be absolutely outstanding. He's a great route runner, and he's got deceptive speed. And that's why a lot of corners will not realize. And by the time they realize at the end of the year, it'll be too late.
All
Yeah,
right.
I had I had
Drake London.
Drake London. Okay, so this is an interesting pick, because I've been seeing this guy in
He'll
camp.
win it.
You have to understand, Pete, this isn't MVP or offensive. This is offensive rookie. And the thing about offensive rookies is you can be in a team that's not really going anywhere. If you turn heads, if this is an award, someone from a team that's basically the bottom of the division ain't gonna win nothing, they can take it. Drake London has been cannibalizing his training camp. You could watch the tapes. This guy's looking like a monster in camp.
But that's training
We're
camp,
talking.
though.
We're talking.
Just
I know
cause-
it's
just
training
cause
camp,
you
but we're
don't
talking.
get-
We're
but-
talking
but-
joint
but-
camps too. Like,
but-
and word around the street is this guy's a beast. So I wouldn't be surprised if offensive rookie of the year, he might be able to. He might be able to.
Now,
lay
is
claim
this
to that.
based upon the assumption that Pitts is going to get too much attention and he's going to be able to play better because of it?
I think it's a bit of both.
Because they haven't,
I think
because they haven't got
I think
anybody
it's a bit-
else.
Yeah.
I don't think, like the other guys in the wide receiver core, you don't have a lot of
Nope.
faith in them. Like,
They're gonna force feed him the ball.
Zacchaeus, Brian Edwards.
Yeah, they're force feeding
Very
those
good.
two the ball, so they're going to get the options to play. And it's only because of that and the fact that offensive rookie of the year, same thing with defensive rookie of the year, doesn't matter if your team's garbage. If you turn heads and you flash, you can win that award. You know, so that's that's the reason why I
That's the
picked Drake
reason why you
London,
put it. Okay.
and I wasn't even a fan of him out of college.
All right. And Finn
Listen,
had picked
I get your
Jahan
pick by
Dotson.
name.
So Finn had picked Jahan Dotson of the Commanders, and I think that's probably just due to the amount that I'm not going to put words in Finn's mouth, but Wentz, like he's going to throw the ball. He's going to have to throw the ball a lot as well. So it's going to give him ample opportunity as well, especially being opposite
Yep.
a guy. Another Scary Terry's going to
Terry.
take all the. He's going to take a lot of the coverages. So therefore,
that was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's like a recipe for success when you have a receiver coming in who's immensely talented, but because that extra threat on the other side of the field is taken away, it gives him a chance to shine. So I think, I wouldn't be surprised. Dark horse.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. I have gone for Kayvon Thibodeau.
Is he not missing the first 3-4 games?
I thought he was going to miss. I thought he was injured.
Is he injured now?
I think he is. Yeah,
the preseason, someone whacked him around the knee. He got a sprain on his knee. So he's going to miss the first 3 games or so.
Giants.
MCL sprain. Let me have
it's a sprain, so it's not a tear. Yeah, he'll be back. He might make it. Return getting close. He might make it back, but he'll drop the first 2. But like I said, Rookie of the Year isn't like you can start late and dominate, and you could get it. You know what I mean? So all eyes are on him.
I see all of you. Most of you went for the edge guys. I went with Jordan Davis because on your Eagles defensive line, I think he's starting to dominate. I think in college football, we didn't really see his pass rushing ability, but I think on the Eagles line, he's going to prove to be very good against the run, and he's going to get one-on-one opportunities. And he's so strong, he doesn't need to even, finesse. He could just bull rush and get about. He could have I could see him having an Ndamukong Suh type here. And if you're a defensive tackle and you get like 10 plus sacks in your first year, you're a strong favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I recall some footage I saw. I think you guys might have saw it. Him absolutely pushing our interior. This was a scrimmage. He absolutely drove him back, and a lot of people were like,
"This was against
practice."
Kelsey, by the way.
Yeah, everyone was like, "It's no big deal. It's no big deal." But I'm like, no, players aren't looking to get shown up like that in front of a crowd. You know what I mean? So he's definitely a freak human being. So yeah, thanks for the pick, but it's not my pick. My pick is Jermaine Johnson. And this is only because I saw him at FSU, Florida State. And this guy has like freaky athleticism at defensive end. I think because of the expectations for the Jets, I don't think he's going to get a lot of opportunities to shine. But when he does shine, he's definitely going to turn a few heads. This is one of those situations where I think the rest of the defense might not play as well as everyone wants, but he's definitely going to shine as a player. And seeing as he was, especially he was one of those higher picks on defense, I think that just means he's going to have more eyeballs on him, because the offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year awards are kind of like a bit biased in that if you're picked really high up in the draft, you instinctively get more eyes on you. You've got to work a lot harder if you're like a 3rd, 4th round pick. You've got to make a lot more plays if you want to be.
You're more less likely to be on the field as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Jermaine Johnson is my guy, just from his freakish athleticism as an edge rusher.
And Finn had put Aiden Hutchinson, so 3 of us have put edge rushers. Peter.
Aiden Hutchinson might be a TJ Watt.
That's the thing. We never know. Comeback player of the year. For me, it's Ron CMC. And I just think his ability as a running back is going to, for being both pass catching as well as running the ball. Because of that, both sides, and I think he's going to have a full season, so therefore he will have it on lock. Peter, you believe in a different running back?
Yeah, I think Derrick Henry is gonna come back and reclaim his king status. He's motivated. I've been watching him working out this offseason, his preparation, his training, and I believe he'll be super motivated, because I think one of the goals that he had last year. Unfortunately, he got injured and missed the season. He wanted to do 2,000 back to back, and I think he was actually on course to do 2,000 back to back. The injury goals just robbed us of history, because I think he would have been the first running back in the NFL history to have back to back 2,000-yard seasons consecutively. And I think this year will be motivated to get closer. That he might not get 2,000, but I think if he closed 1,500 yards with 10 plus touchdowns, he'll be a shoo-in for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of cheated with my selection. Like I said, he wasn't really injured, but in terms of like
He had such a
how
bad season.
how that season went, I think
Was
everyone
he even
was
eligible
sort of
for
down.
that award if he had a bad season? Would he
No,
be
but that's what I'm
eligible?
saying. It's not because it wasn't just bad. It was kind of like a complete deflation. You know what I mean? It was almost as though he
No, but
was irrelevant. The team
one
was irrelevant.
second.
He was
Really?
irrelevant. Like I said, I admit, maybe it
I
seems as
don't-
though I kind of cheated with the award, but I'm putting him down.
Can you get it for a down year, or do you only get comeback if you have been injured?
It wasn't
I
just a
don't know.
down year. He was a non-story. He was literally, I think, the expectation of who he was and what he was meant to do. This is essentially him returning to the game and reintroducing himself. This is in essence his rookie year all over again. So this is why I picked Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, Pete, I understand it's kind of like a bit of a cheat, but you know, that's
so
my thought.
It says, while the criteria for the award is imprecise, it is typically given to a player who shows perseverance in overcoming adversity, from not being able to play the previous year, or for playing well in comparison to the previous year's poor performance.
Okay, there you go.
95% of the time it's due to an injury. And
Yeah, it's due to an injury. I don't think he'll get it, but it's just my way of saying I expect him to do more. Finn, I think he had, who was it, Cam Akers?
Yep.
This might be it. I think this guy might realistically.
He has a very good chance considering the whole.
Yeah, Cam has a very
injury
good
stuff.
chance. Cam Akers.
They're going to feed him the rock because it's all part of
Exactly.
that new look offense. They don't want to be too
Mhm.
much of the same as last year. They want to try and switch things up a bit. So he's going to get fed that rock.
Right. Coach of the year.
Cliff. Oh my God. Don't you hate this guy? Go, Pete. Give us your reason.
Well, I hate the guy, but I only gave him coach of
Why
the
you
year
not
for one
picking-
reason, and I think
Because
I
he's
think,
my coach and we love him so much.
like, so here's the thing: if Cliff Kingsbury can get Arizona Cardinals, it comes with a caveat to win 11 or 12 games, because actually this year we actually have one of the hardest schedules in the whole NFL. Kid, you know, if you look at the strength of schedule, we are kind of like in the top 2 or top 3 of games this year. If he can get us to win 11, 12 games, and most of the wins come in the second half of the season,
Do you guys
you
face
have
the
a
AFC
strong
West?
case to win the award.
Do you face the AFC West this year?
Yeah, we face the whole AFC West.
Yeah,
So-
that's gonna be a fun strength.
So that's what I'm saying. So
That'd be him
say
winning
if
the
Cliff-
award.
Let's
He
say if
navigates
Cliff
through
goes, if Cliff goes 3-1 against the AFC West, in addition to most of our wins, he gets a very favorable. He gets a good
Yeah,
chance.
okay.
To win
I
Coach of
see
the
that.
Year.
Okay.
So it's basically like what he's up against this year, and if he can get the Cardinals to do even better than last year, then he has a strong case to win that award. That's
Alright.
I
my
see
only
that.
criteria for picking it.
Yeah.
All right. I have gone with Mike McDaniel, and I think that's because I believe that the Dolphins will do very well this year, and that he will be rewarded because of that.
But here's the thing. Here's my question about Mike McDaniel.
Mhm.
We've never seen him call plays at the NFL level, so I don't know. I know there's great reviews about how he's got such an offensive brain and he's meant to be this genius. But at least with certain people, certain geniuses that won Coach of the Year, we had seen them call plays. Like for instance, with Sean McVay, he was the OC for the Washington Commanders in their history before. LaFleur was an OC who called plays before, even though that's what I mean. Like, are we really sure about Mike McDaniel?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Mike McDaniel has like a few things going for him. The fact that he's how can I say? I want to say inheriting, but he's kind of like taking over a team that's a bit of a hot rod. You know what I mean? That they've got a high caliber offense, and it could gain him easy brownie points as far as how that team performs offensively. If they come off with like a really aggressive start, I think that's going to give him a good headway. But not just that, but he's fairly young. You know, the NFL loves these kind of stories of like new coaches coming in, especially young
That's
coaches,
the thing.
and they're
That's why
doing
I
well.
was
So I think it's
kind of
things are
leading
kind of
to that.
slanted, and it works for your boy Cliff Kingsbury as well. They like young coaches who come in and perhaps put one up over the older coaches because it shows that the league is progressing, it's evolving. I think Finn's pick of Sean McDermott is good. I think he's proven, and I continue to see like he's going to continue to sort of dominate as a coach. And I think if they go on a deep run into the playoffs, even a Super Bowl appearance, I think he wins Coach of the Year.
Yeah, but I don't think. But don't forget, because it's not really fully relevant to the off season. The postseason. It's basically up to the end of the regular season. And I think if they completely blow people away, that it could definitely be Sean. Like,
it's if your team plays well, your coach is probably going to win it. Basically,
Right, Super Bowl matchups. It looks like all four of us think that one team from the AFC is going to be in that Super Bowl, and that is the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Where we differ is who they are going to be facing. So Finn thinks Brady's going to do another blood sacrifice and make it all the way to the last as our last dance. I believe that the Rams will try and go back to back, but I think they will lose in the Super Bowl to the Bills. Will and Peter, what do you guys think?
I think for me, I think for Super Bowl teams, it's teams that have been to the dance or have been one game away from the dance. I think your team has to have a certain amount of experience, because then the players understand, hey, this is Super Bowl week. Hey, we've got 2 more games in the postseason. They need to have a different mindset. And I think teams that haven't necessarily been there, it's harder for them to do, even if they have veterans. Green Bay haven't been there for a very long time. You know, don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers just knows what it takes. But that the rest of that organization, not just the players, the organization needs to know what it takes to be that deep in there. You know, that being said, I think all these picks are good. I'm going to go, I'd say, out between Peter and Finn. I've got to side with Finn a little bit more, only because the Packers, we all know
they choke at the end.
They choke towards the end. Not just that, but we all saw what happened in the playoffs. He was throwing to one guy, and he's not there anymore. And there's other guys who've come and taken his place, but I think the only other guy was Izzard. That was the only other throw he made that game. Every other throw went to Devontae Adams. That's crazy if you think about it. Like, if you're another receiver on that team, just think, like, every throw is to one guy. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard from John. I'm not saying he can't do it, because Aaron Rodgers is that guy. He's that kind of talent. But it's difficult to bring your whole team with you.
See,
you know, that's what I'm getting at.
Why I believe this year he probably will make that breakthrough. And the reason why I say that is because he doesn't have that one guy to focus on. Now, Rodgers will, in the playoffs, be forced to play and go through progressions and find the open guy, rather than always thinking, yeah, me and Devontae will do this. I'll just throw to Devontae. I don't care about anybody else. Because now you don't have Devontae. So now you're going to have to throw to the other guys.
Yeah, well, I hope he does that.
It's almost like Aaron Rodgers sometimes plays hero ball, but he plays hero ball at such an elite level. He papers over the cracks. But now he'll be forced to, like, actually look at progressions instead of just playing hero ball, because that hero that you had, he's no longer there. So it's for that same reason why I went with Rodgers. And also, the blood sacrifices are over. I'm sorry, but the kids are too old. They can't be sacrificed anymore.
Mate, on a tangent here, like, this whole Brady wants to spend time with his kids. That's just, his kids are nearly grown. It's not an argument. So when I hear about his family, I'm like, his kids are nearly grown. Don't use that argument. He doesn't want to
spend time with them kids. Like, he had 2 weeks and he said, fuck them kids, I'm back. I can't. He couldn't even spend a month looking after his own children. His
They're
own
they're
children.
grown teenagers.
Bro.
They're moving out of the house soon. So I don't know where this
All
whole
right.
debate comes from.
Okay. Well,
Like, he ain't getting no
um,
dad of the year. If I was a son, I'd be like, go do whatever you want to do.
there we have it. That is our predictions show. Well, Peter, you said that the Packers are going to be meeting the Bills, correct?
Yeah, but as I mean, we're gonna do. Are we gonna do a mid-season review on our predictions at some point?
No, we're going to do an end of regular season review on our predictions.
Come on, let's do a mid-season review.
I think-
because
I-
these are locked in now, and this is kind of like
They're
a
not
time
locked in
capsule
for me.
end. They're locked in. Sorry,
They're locked in, Pete.
That's it. It's
They're-
done. It's
they're
done.
locked in.
What's done is done. It
Awesome.
is locked in. There's no backsies now.
Go Packers.
So
Listen, Rich Eisen
right.
has said
Mhm.
at halfway point, you can reserve your right, at least for the Super Bowl matchups. We can change our mind on that. The awards maybe not, but
Well, no, it's more of you can say who you're going to be, but it's not going to be changing to what we thought at the start of the year. You can't revision it. There's no revisionism in that kind of aspect. But we are, well, firstly, we have to say a big thank you to Finn, who came on for the majority of the tonight's edition. It was great to have somebody from across the pond on the
Yes,
show. A shout out to Extra Sweet and Sour Sauce for dropping us a follow on Twitch. Thank you very much to him. We are striving our way towards becoming a Twitch affiliate on this channel. I am going to set up a raid because I know of a streamer who is currently streaming his fantasy football draft, and then he's going to be going into some Madden content after. So please, everybody, stick for that. It is going to be the Real Trash Panda 12, who is a Twitch partner, but he is also a big Houston sports fan. So I'll get that sorted out, and we will catch everyone next time. It looks like he is mid-draft, so we'll catch everybody next time, and hopefully we will be on Thursday for the week preview, because that is the big one. Week 1 preview on Thursday. We'll catch everyone next time, and we're going to be raiding out now. Thanks, everyone.
Over and out.
over and out.